Welcome to Fight Talk. I'm your host, Blazt The Speakerz, and with me I have my co-host, the Utility Man, as
Hey,
well.
what's up, everyone? I know
What's
everything
going
looks a
on?
little blurry, but I didn't have a chance to find a background image this week, so unfortunately, this is what you got. Again, I just got my camera working on here again. I don't know why it got messed up in the first place. I don't know why what I changed fixed it, but whatever.
You're okay. Everything's okay. That's the
I
most
hope
important
so.
thing. I'm just glad that we have visual today because last week we didn't. I hope the audio's coming through and everybody's hearing us okay today.
I mean, we
Um,
don't have visual of our third person since unfortunately they're not here tonight.
yes, unfortunately, BloodTide could not make it tonight. He wasn't feeling well.
We have a
We wish
sick
him,
tide on our hands.
yeah, we wish him all the best, and we hope he feels better. So get well, Mr. Tides.
Funny
Um,
enough, I think he's the one of us that's played Alpha the most.
I've had my fair share of playing Alpha. Now,
I mean, I have too, but I won't claim to have played as much as he has.
that's quite possibly. Now, that's one of the best series. So today, we're going to be covering StreetFighterAlpha, the series. We're talking about Alpha 1, Alpha 2, and Alpha 3. Now, what makes Alpha so great? Man, I'm going to tell you, there's so many things. First thing is, it goes back to the roots of these characters. Like, they in Japan they call this Street Fighter Zero. Now, if I'm derailing anything, utility, let me know because I know you probably have a whole thing lined up. But I just wanted to share my thoughts on this and say, hey, this is really where it originated from. Like
Yeah, don't
they
worry about
went
it. Go
with
right ahead.
they went they went with Street Fighter Zero as a precursor to Street Fighter One. That was really what they planned on with this whole thing. Now, that was what was originally said. However, if you look at like Sagat does not have the eye patch um, before. Like in Street Fighter One, he had both eyes, and then he has the eye patch and the scar in the Alpha series, in Alpha One, even I believe. No, Alpha Two. So
Yeah, Alpha 2.
right, he was in Alpha Two. So
I mean,
and
he
then it
is
was
an
Alpha
Alpha
Three.
1.
Yeah, but so I don't want to derail everything, but basically that was the whole idea and the concept behind um, the Alpha series. That's what they wanted to do with it. They called the Street Fighter Zero as like, yeah, zero as in you start over from the beginning. That's where you're going with. That's kind of what they were aiming for and what they planned on with this. Correct me if I'm wrong. What are your thoughts on this, Tom?
I think this is kind of interesting because what we have here may very well be the first big prequel series in the fighting game. Like, I know when Street Fighter 2 came out and it was this huge phenomenon, and everybody's thinking Street Fighter 3 is going to be next. No, Championship Edition. Okay, Street Fighter 3. No, Hyper Fight. Okay, Super Street Fighter 2. Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo. Where's Street Fighter 3?
Yeah. No, that definitely grew. That's what it was. Like they had so many iterations of Street Fighter 2, and we discussed that on the last show. So if anybody that missed out, take a look at our first fight talk in regards to Street Fighter. Now, again, this
There,
is a mini series that we're doing that we're counting down towards Street Fighter 6, or
there were
rather
so
counting
many
up.
versions. So
Yeah.
many versions of Street Fighter 2, we couldn't even cover them all.
Well,
And that's going to be consistent tonight when we get to Street Fighter Alpha 3 and there's a ton of different versions. We cannot cover them all, especially not in one night. That's going to be too much. So we kind of had to pick and choose just a little bit what to do.
just a little, just a little.
Just a little.
But it's um, it's definitely one of my favorite of the series. Like of Street Fighters, like I grew up playing Alpha. Like I was in the arcades. Like it was around the time after, like, yes, I played the Street Fighter 2s and all of that, but I guess I got older as a teenager. I was playing Street Fighter Alpha 2 and Street Fighter Alpha 3 in the arcades. Street Fighter Alpha 2 and X-Men vs. Street Fighter were around the same time frame for me. I'm not going to go into the Versus series. That's a whole other.
Well, actually, we're going to see a little connection between those two games tonight.
Oh, you want to bring that up? Okay. Yeah, because
I think most people that know what I'm referring to already know what we're going to go through. So,
okay. Because I'll tell you, like, I remember being like 16 playing Alpha 2 at a pool hall, and then later coming in, and then that same arcade got converted to X-Men vs. Street Fighter. And I was like, what? So I'm not going to get into the whole X-Men vs. Street Fighter unless that's where you're going. But yeah, for me, Alpha 2 was really kind of like the special one.
We'll touch on X-Men vs. Street Fighter just a tad. It's not overall important except for one character.
Okay.
As far as Alpha goes, I didn't even get to play Alpha until after 2000. Chimera playing Alpha was my first experience with it.
Wow.
I have never seen a Street Fighter Alpha machine. I have never seen a Street Fighter Alpha 2 machine. I have seen one Street Fighter Alpha 3 machine. That is it.
Wow. Well, for me, it was in the arcades. Like, I played all that in the arcades, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I don't know why. My arcades got the Marvel fighting games, and they got Street Fighter 2, but they never had the Alpha games. I don't know why.
I even played Alpha 3. Like, Alpha 3 was more popular than Alpha 2 in the arcades, I'll tell you. Was growing up as a kid.
I don't know. I think most people generally consider that Alpha 2 is more popular in the West and Alpha 3 is more popular in the East, but I guess it's opinion based.
You mean with regards to the release of the cabs?
Regards to the games themselves and their overall populace. It usually seems like a lot of people over here like Alpha 2 better, and a lot of people over there like Alpha 3 better.
Well, I mean, it's tough. For me personally, I like Alpha 3 because of its evolution, and that's something I think we'll get into. I think we should go in order, but if I had to say, like, I like Alpha 2 a lot because of just the overall gameplay, the graphics, the music, all of that. But then I do like what they did with Alpha 3, where it evolved from Alpha 2. And, you had some more things to it. What threw me off with the original Alpha was the air block. But that we can get into as we dive into Street Fighter 1.
Yeah, actually, I want to delve into the reasons why some people like Alpha 2 better when we get there.
Okay. Sounds good to me.
So we can start with Alpha 1.
Do we want to have this intro play for Alpha 1?
Why not? It's classic.
All right, let's check out this intro. Because this was... I love the graphics and everything to Alpha 1 when it first came out.
Yeah, it went more towards an anime style rather than the rugged style Street Fighter 2 it established.
Oh, yeah. Especially seeing Ryu and Ken, like, in the field, facing off, doing fireballs against one another. That was pretty cool. And this scene here with Rose and Bison.
I wish I could experience Alpha the way you did, but because I didn't get to play Alpha until Chimera, I had played the Marvel vs. games first. So I was already used to that style and the speed of games. So when I look at Alpha 1, it feels slow. Like, it feels really slow.
I feel you. I see some people out there. What's going on, UAG?
Welcome, UAG.
So, for me, I saw Alpha actually very first time on the PlayStation 1. That's when I saw Street Fighter Alpha. But it's what I wanted to point out was what I said earlier with regards to the Z with Rose and Bison. So that Z is actually Rose making a Z for zero. In the Japanese version, it's Street Fighter Zero, not Street Fighter Alpha.
I guess they didn't feel like having her make an A for us.
No.
A for effort, Capcom. A for effort.
Yeah. No, but for me, it was the PlayStation 1 when I first saw Street Fighter Alpha 1. I did play Alpha 2 in the arcades, which is the interesting thing. Like, I went from Street Fighter 2 in the arcades, like Super Street Fighter, and then I went to Street Fighter Alpha 2 in the arcades. But I did see Alpha 1 for the PlayStation 1, and when I first saw it, I actually didn't like it.
Really?
I thought the graphics looked cool. But then I felt like the gameplay was a little off. And I was like, okay, this is the next evolution. This is whatever. And then somebody was like, no. This is actually before Street Fighter 2. And I was like, okay. So the timeline-wise, this is actually in between Street Fighter 1 and Street Fighter 2. Timeline-wise, if you're going to go with the story. But they called it Street Fighter Zero because of, it's the original Street Fighter, if you will.
Well, I think they like doing that kind of thing because over there you see they have River City Girls Zero. They just like doing Zero for some reason.
Makes
now, for me personally, what do you mean I'm a grumpy old man? Come on now.
I saw that comment.
Come on now. I'm constantly cracking jokes. How can I be a grumpy old man?
He called you a Blanca lover. I'm sorry. I didn't say that.
What? No, that's not what he said.
I'm putting words in people's mouths. I'm sorry.
Yeah, don't say that. Now that'll make me a grumpy old man.
Yeah, I know how to get it out of him.
Oh, Blast is the grumpy old... Now we're talking.
Wait. Alcoholics Anonymous? What's going on now?
No, above average... Wait, who is AAA? Why are you saying triple A?
Isn't that when your car breaks down, they come and help?
Yeah, that is one of them.
Just saying.
Wow, right. Such a sidetrack here. So, yeah, AAG. That's what you mean.
There you go. It's the above average gamer. It is true.
So I'm so sad that I didn't get to appreciate Alpha for what it was when it was new, because at my time of playing it on Kylera, like, I had never played Street Fighter 1. I didn't know anything about Street Fighter 1. I didn't get where some of these characters came from. I didn't get the homages. I didn't understand any of that. I didn't find out the lore until much later.
I didn't know about Street Fighter 1 until later as well. I was very into Street Fighter 2, and I was very into the whole Alpha series as well. But when X-Men and all of that came about, that was it for me, which I don't want to focus too much on because this is really for the Alpha.
No, and I'm going to be honest. Like, I'm sitting here playing X-Men vs. Street Fighter, Marvel Supers vs. Street Fighter, and people are like, hey, you want to play Street Fighter Alpha? And I'm like, this game's slow. I don't like this at all. I can't play this. Not to mention it has no Dalzium. Why would I want to play this? There's no Dalzium. Then Street Fighter Alpha 2, I respect Alpha 2, and I enjoy Alpha 3. First game, I kind of got to go with you on that one. The first game's rough.
Yeah. But coming back to the whole thing, I just want to play that trailer again, because that trailer shows the gameplay, shows how the game characters evolve. Like, just seeing the whole Ryu and Ken face off. I mean, I wish that they had that stage. They had that stage in Alpha 2, but I wish they had that stage in Alpha 1, like the way it was advertised in the intro. You
Yeah,
know?
I imagine for those of you that went from Street Fighter 2 to this, it probably did feel like an upgrade. Like things are smoother, all the animations are clearer. There's a lot more detail put into it. So again, it's hard for me to appreciate it as much as you guys since I played the Marvel versus games before this.
Yeah.
Like if I was a main fighting gamer back then and I'm like going through Darkstalkers and stuff, I would have a lot of appreciation for this first alpha game. But I kind of lacked that because it didn't feel fresh to me the first time I played it.
Well, the first time I ever saw Alpha was actually at a video game store, and I was playing. I saw kids playing it, and then I got the chance to play. It was like I had my turn next, if you will. So when I first played it, I was relying on things like throwing a fireball and having a person jump on it. And then all of a sudden, I saw the air block. And I'd like to talk about the mechanics, if that's all right with you, Tom, because
I think that's a great place to start because that really sets the game apart from 2.
correct. So, like, my strategy with one of the things I did in Street Fighter 2, coming and playing in the arcades was to throw a fireball and letting people actually fall onto that fireball. And when I saw people playing Alpha and like I'm playing against somebody and I'm throwing a fireball and I'm relying on them to fall on it and then they're blocking it, I'm like, "Ugh." It forced me to get out of my element to learn other things too. Like that
It
was
forced you to learn more than projectile spam? Oh, no longer a scrub, huh?
ooh, those are some fighting words there, Stretch.
It ain't like you're playing Mega Man.
No, Mega Man, that's a whole other story itself.
Oh yeah, like spam is to be
Loved, play,
expected from Mega Man.
loved playing Mega Man, brother.
You shouldn't do that with Ryu.
Love playing Mega Man. But yeah, I'll say this. As far as the whole thing with Street Fighter Alpha, like yeah, it was the biggest thing for me was the fact that they couldn't block. I mean, they started to block in the air.
Yeah,
That was the big thing for me.
yeah,
You
you
know?
definitely noticed that. If me, for example, when I play Street Fighter Alpha 3, I pick Xism Dalzian. No air block.
Well, the other thing
So
is, go ahead. Go ahead.
So I was going to say, so I'm coming off a Street Fighter 2 player who's not used to air blocking to begin with, so it doesn't really affect things that much for me.
Well, it depends, I guess, how you look at it.
But it it definitely changed the game in a sense where you can no longer play your same safe wait approach. It's like, okay, let's throw the fireball. I know they're going to jump it. I'll do an SRK after they jump it. That doesn't work anymore.
It's definitely different. Coming from Street Fighter 2 to Street Fighter Alpha, it plays different. It feels different. It's a different game. It really
Yeah.
is.
Not to mention, air blocking is not the only defensive thing we got. We also got rolling. That's a big
Yes.
thing too.
Yes. You would hit the ground and you would roll away, and you had opportunities to get behind your opponent if they were performing another move, trying to get in on you, and then they would whiff, and you'd get behind them and you'd be able to do something to them. So there's a lot of mechanics, even like alpha counters, for example, being able to block a move at the cost of a meter and then countering it. Um, that was pretty cool as well, I'd say.
It never felt worth it to me, to be honest. I get now why you might want to do that, but back then when I first played it, it seemed awfully expensive. You're expending a whole meter just for one hit. Why would you do that? But I get it now. Like, obviously, it's not necessarily just the damage that it takes, but it gives you better positioning as well.
It depends on, like, if you're getting pressured, that's really what it's used for.
Yeah.
I could see it more being applied in Alpha 3 because you have that guard break, if you will, in Alpha 3.
Yeah.
In Alpha 1 and Alpha 2, maybe not so much. But yes,
No,
people did use
you're
it.
still taking chip damage. And, like, let's be fair, if you're just huddled in the corner blocking everything, you're not going to win. You're going to have to attack at some point unless you're already way ahead and you want to win by time. But I'm not one of those players.
Yeah, I can see that.
Like, no offense, but that's not my style.
I know it's not. I know it's not.
I actually hate winning by time. I hate losing by time even more.
It's good to know. I'll remember that. Thanks for the tip.
What are you going to do?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
You're still supposed to play me in Alpha 2. That challenge was thrown out, and you have not gone through with it.
I'm going to play in Alpha 3.
That's not what you said.
I'm going to leave it at that.
No, it was you were going to play Alpha 2, and you were going to pick Blanca. I'm waiting to see that happen.
Moving on.
AG is definitely running because he realized that he has agreed to play a character that wasn't in the game.
Now, UAG, you don't understand. He misinterpreted what I had said.
No.
I said I would play Alpha 2 or Alpha 3 with him, and I said I would pick Blanca. And he took it and ran with it.
He said 2. And I know he said 2 because that's why I agreed to it. Of course, I'm going to agree to play the game that doesn't have Blanca. I mean, that should make sense to everybody. Why would I agree to play Alpha 3 that has Blanca? I hate Blanca.
I'm ready to take a vacation.
You have one like every other weekend.
No, not enough.
No,
not enough. Not enough. Not enough. Not enough. So, you want to go down the list? You want to go through the roster?
I think we still got a couple things we can cover with this. So, yeah, you did mention alpha counters. You did mention air blocking. But how about the fact that this being the first Street Fighter game with real chain combos?
Okay. They did introduce combos in Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo.
But that's not the same, and you know that.
I know.
This game is a little more like Vampire Saviors than it is Street Fighter 2.
Yeah, well, Alpha 1 is more based on that, I would say. And Alpha 1, it also introduced different characters, which we'll get into right afterwards. And there's somebody who I spoke with, a friend of mine, that I told him that we were doing Alpha, and he made a suggestion that I'd like to pull up. But since we're talking about mechanics, I'll let you finish with the whole mechanics before I bring that up.
Okay, so my car was making a strange noise the other day. Okay. Not the right time. Gotcha. So if we're going to mention mechanics...
You know, I got to tell you something, though. I saved a whole bunch of money on my car insurance. You want to go on?
I mean, did you pull out your AAA card?
Definitely. The one that UAG referenced.
We'll continue on. How about a mechanic that I hate that exists and I hope nobody uses? And that's the auto manual mode.
So the auto...
I hate it. I hate it.
Elaborate. The auto was what? The auto block?
Auto guard, yes. I
Yeah,
hate
that's what I
that.
thought it was. I was trying to remember it, and I forgot all about that actually. That there
I
was the auto block.
understand why some people might use it, but I'm going to be one of those guys. I don't want to play you if you use this.
They had the auto block function for. I think that their thought process was to try and help the players so that this way
Right.
they can block and things like that because they wouldn't. And I believe it stopped at Alpha 1. I don't think that it carried over to Alpha 2, if I remember correctly.
I think Alpha 2 still has it, actually.
Did it really? Oh my god.
Hmm.
Okay. I wasn't sure about that.
This is just going to make you learn to play badly, though. You're going to become overly reliant on that, and when you try to switch off of it, you're not going to be able to play.
Yeah.
Like, it's
I can see
a
that.
bad idea.
I can see that.
It's not the same as like easy combos. I don't like easy combos, but you can still learn the game otherwise. But an auto guard, that's just going to mess you up.
Yeah, because if you're trying to perform a move or something and it automatically blocks for you, technically it's moving your controller or your character in a different position, and that's what's throwing it off.
Well, also, like, you're missing out on learning one of the fundamentals of any fighting game,
Oh
knowing
yeah,
defensive tactics.
for
And
sure.
welcome, Mr. Britt.
Shout out to Mr. Britt. What's going on, my man? It's been a
I
while.
haven't seen you in a while.
Hell yeah. Hope all is well by you, my man. So, I totally agree with you on that, though. I'm not. I wasn't a fan of the auto guard at all.
No, it again, it's one of the fundamental things knowing a defensive game. And yeah, I'm sure there's some people that are okay with you picking it, but there are going to be people that aren't okay with you picking it. And just trying to say, okay, well, I just won't use it this time, you're going to lose because it's
Nice.
not going to come naturally to you when to guard.
Right, because if you don't have the auto guard, it's a whole different ballgame. It basically was a handicap. That's really
Yeah,
the best way to explain it.
which
It was a
again,
handicap.
easy combos is a handicap as well. But the difference there is that easy combos doesn't prevent you from learning when to take advantage of an opening. It just gives you a free combo, but you still have to get the opening yourself.
Yeah, I get that. I get that.
Okay, I know how much you want to move on, so I got one more thing, which is actually pretty important, and that's the fact that this game has different bosses depending on who you play as.
It did. It started with that, and I think they emphasized that with the story.
Yeah.
You know, um, and after that, I'd like to lead into something else, but I don't even remember. I don't know if you do. I don't even remember who you would play if you played with certain characters, like who were the bosses for each one. It's been so long that I actually forgot.
Uh, well, see, again, I didn't play Alpha 1 that much. I played 2 and
Same,
3 more.
same,
But I'm
same.
assuming, like, Ryu, the boss is probably Ken or Sagat.
It's
Kind of
tough.
feels like it would be.
I forgot actually. I'd have to go look it up.
Well,
It's been a
I'm
while for
going to
Alpha One.
I'm gonna guess it's Ken purely for story elements here, because something I'm surprised you haven't mentioned yet is Ken giving Ryu the red headband.
Well, apparently Mr. Britt says, "Don't get me started on Street Fighter One." Well, we did
Oh,
Street Fighter One last week. If you're
yeah,
talking
we
about
did
Street
it
Fighter
last
Alpha
week.
One, that's a whole other story, brother. And feel free to get started on Alpha One if that's what you were referring to. Because this is all about Alpha today. We're going to talk about Alpha One, Alpha Two, Alpha Three. So we're focusing on Alpha One right now. So now the thing is, I don't remember everybody's ending. However, I do remember the special characters in Alpha One. and they had two particular unique characters in Alpha 1, and that was Dan
Yeah.
and that was Akuma. So Akuma or Goki, we're familiar with from Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo at this point, and then he became playable for the first time in that game. Now I don't remember. I think X-Men: Children of the Atom came after Alpha 1, if I'm not mistaken. I don't remember that.
I'm pretty sure it came after Alpha 1, yes.
I'd have to go looking that up, but I'll tell you that he did not become playable until either Alpha 1 or X-Men: Children of the Atom. And oh yeah, my man says that was the bane of his existence. Okay, Mr. Britt is here to talk about Alpha. All right, bro, feel free to join us, and anything that you want to point out, I will highlight on screen today. But certainly, I'll tell you right now that he was finally able, like you were able to finally play as Akuma, and that was like, for me, I was like, oh, this is badass. Now Dan was supposedly, that's the first time you ever saw Dan was in Street Fighter Alpha 1, and he came through as a joke character mocking one of the creators, from what I recall. They put one of the creators into the game as a spoof, as a joke. And it turned out like his appearance changed from Alpha 1 to Alpha 2 if you look at it carefully. You know? And yeah, like that was the other thing. Like Akuma did have the air fireballs, for sure. That's where Akuma's was nasty.
Now, not
I think you had a couple things you wanted to say.
moment, but I don't know how legit this is, but I looked them up, and apparently Children of the Atom came out first.
That would make sense, and I'll explain why. If you look at the sprites, if you look at the graphics between Alpha 1 Akuma and the Akuma that you get in X-Men Children of the Atom, X-Men Children of the Atom Akuma literally looked just like the one in Super Turbo. And what happened was,
I guess that is true.
he stuck out like a sore thumb in that.
Well, yes, he does, because he doesn't feel like any of the rest of the cast.
Right. So now, the other thing is, and this is shout out to my friend Wolfman9. I had a discussion with him on Saturday actually about this, and I told him that we were doing the show, and he was like, talking about Alpha characters, this is the very first time that you can honestly say that it was referred to them as the Shotos. And I'm like, what do you mean? And he said to me, well, think about it. He's like, because of the Alpha series, you got all these other characters that started to, mimic Ryu and Ken in more than different ways and have different variations. And that's where the whole quote unquote Shotos came about, is what his big thing was.
Welcome, Godly.
That's what he was saying.
Yeah, but maybe they were referred to that for the first time, but they were still known for Shotokan karate. I guess maybe it's because the internet wasn't really a thing when Street Fighter 2 came out.
Well, the thing is that it was like Alpha 1 and Alpha 1, Alpha 2, and Alpha 3. They brought out all those new characters. So as a result, you had more variation, and that's where I think the whole Shotos started to come up. But at the same time, I hear you on the whole Shotokan thing, because that's true. At one point, Ryu and Ken were their style was written as Shotokan, and then later on they changed it to Anatsuki.
Yeah, I honestly think it's just because of the explosion of the internet. I believe that's it. They
Possible too.
were Shotos, but maybe not widely called that before that.
It's possible too. Very possible.
So I know you were talking about Dan, but we probably should wait till we go through the character list for that.
We can. I did give a little focus on Akuma and Dan on that, but we might as well start with. You want to go in alphabetical order through all of them,
I
focusing
have
it
them
that way.
listed exactly what order I thought we should go through.
Okay. And I saw that you had some other things that you wanted to maybe point out.
Those will be last.
I see what those are. Okay. So do you want to start off with? Well, we can start off with Akuma if you want, since he's up there, or would you rather start off doing in alphabetical order?
I listed it in alphabetical order just so we wouldn't forget which ones we'd done. I think that would be the easiest.
Okay, so he's going to cover both of us more than likely.
Probably.
And forgive us for these graphics. These were some last minute, but I got to give kudos and respect to the person that actually put this together, because it's a lot of work just to get these in here. So my man Utility Man has been putting in work. So respect and shout out to you, my man.
Yeah, I can assure you when you see this and it looks bad, this is StreamYard. This isn't on us.
Oh yeah, that's for sure.
It would be a good bit more work to actually make this look better.
But let's go ahead.
Yeah.
I will try and clean some things up for the next time, but let's go ahead and work with this. I think it's going to be good either way. So we've got a Don making his
Why
appearance.
is he looking at me so menacingly? I don't like it.
Oh, he's got a thing for you, bro.
No. You might as well take our names off.
He's like, hold on. He's like, hey there, Utility Man. Hey there.
No. See, this is why BloodTide should be here, because he'd be leering at BloodTide if he was here. And he seems more like BloodTide's type than mine.
Oh, he's got that look for you, bro.
That's not even right.
Well, I think we did touch up on him even on the last Street Fighter.
Not too much.
Not too much, but we did talk about him a little bit. Where he was basically the character before Sagat, and the reason why his whole story arc is that he was the Muay Thai champion, and Sagat took him out, and he's been always wanting to kind of redeem himself and take that mantle back. That was his big thing, from what I recall. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Let me ask this. Why is it we can have two Muay Thai characters that play very different, but we can't have two Shotos that play very different? They have to play exactly the same.
Well, yeah, that's a good point.
Like, nobody would look at Adon and confuse him with Sagat's style. They are very different.
That's a good point. You know, I keep trying to hide behind him. I think I might as well just do this.
My gosh.
There we go.
No.
Now you guys can get intimate. Just the two of us. Where you going?
No, you made it weird.
All right, fine. He does have that look for you, like hey baby, how you doing? I can't. That's too funny.
Oh, I'm sorry. The cam keeps dying. I'm not sure what's wrong.
Oh, technical difficulties? Is that what it is? You know, I can always just
be like us.
Pull up a picture of Blanca there for you or something.
Oh, I will kill you in your sleep.
Oh my god. All right. Anything you want to add on about this guy? I mean, I
tried learning him. I did. He looks like a really fun character, but his style just doesn't mesh for me.
I get that.
Like, I love the bouncing off the wall attack, which I believe at the time was pretty unique. I mean, we had Vega do his little background climb, but it wasn't quite the same as Adon's.
No, it wasn't. I agree with you on that. It certainly was not. It was different.
Hmm? I don't know. Again, like I remember from our Alpha 3 tourney recently, we had somebody who was really good with Adon. And I'd like to be that good with him, but his playstyle is just strange for me. He seems like somebody that would be more of a ranged attacker, which you'd think I would like because I main Dalzim.
I
But
get that.
you know, when I talk about liking long legs, I don't mean a guy's long legs.
Yeah, no, I
No
get that.
offense. No offense. That's just not for me.
I get that. Again, he's got that look for you, though. All right, let's move on. Now you just made him upset. That's what it is. You just made him upset.
No, they can't see me. It's fine.
Well, you're kind of hiding under his,
Yeah, I know. I can practically pick his nose here.
Oh God. All right.
Yeah, the Satsui no booger.
Oh boy. All right.
So this
Oh
one's
my
mainly
God.
yours because you love Shotos.
No, you know what it is. I was saying it before. He definitely is different than the others.
Yeah,
Because
this one has an air
he was
fireball.
badass, flat out badass. And the fact that you could play as him in Alpha 1 was huge. And then when you can actually play with him in Alpha 2 as a selectable character, I thought that was cool too. And then the introduction of Shin Akuma just had me like, whoa. And I have stories about the whole thing with Shin Akuma. Like jumping ahead, going from Street Fighter Alpha 1 to Street Fighter Alpha 2 now, all right, since we're focusing more on characters, I will tell you, going with regards to Akuma in Alpha 2, oh man, like I'm just pausing for a minute because I have such memories of I remember my friend Alex who had Sega Saturn, and I played the Alpha 2 version of this. Now I owned a PlayStation 1, okay? When I played it on PlayStation 1, they didn't have the same version. The closest one was actually Alpha 2 on Sega Saturn, was the closest one to the arcade, is what I would say. But they
Oh, you sure
had,
you don't mean the Super Nintendo Alpha 2?
well, yes, there was a Super Nintendo. Oh God, but that was
Now that
was
arcade perfect, right?
oh no, that was just ugh. And the funny thing is, I was actually hoping for those type of things back then. They came out later on with it, and that was just horrific. That was just terrible.
Well, we will cover that for a little bit here.
But as far as Akuma goes, he was just totally badass, bro. Like, especially when I played Shin Akuma, like in Alpha 2, and it was an accomplishment just to beat Shin Akuma in Alpha 2 on the Sega Saturn version. I'll tell you that. That was really how I felt about it.
He kind of set the tone when he comes out and kills Bison on screen with one attack, whereas most of us struggle to beat Bison at all.
Yeah.
So it kind of it makes you wonder, is it a double-edged sword? Because yeah, it makes him look amazing, but does that make Bison look weak?
I don't think so. I think it made it just because Bison's supposed to be the boss of the game, right? So it made it all seem like, okay, this is the final character, but no, this is the final character. This is the final boss. You know what I mean? That's really what it came down to.
At the very least, I don't remember him being as ridiculously difficult to find in Alpha 1 as he was in Super Turbo.
Well, in Alpha 1, I think it was they decided to put him in the game, and I don't think that he was like he was there, and he was still a badass. But I think in Super Turbo was more about that article, the whole thing about Shen Long, and I think that's what inspired him, and that was the biggest focus, if you will, for Super Turbo. That's
Okay.
that's what I believe. That's what my take on it is.
I think that's fair.
You know, but with regards to the Alpha series, I think in Alpha 2 he just came out like a total badass, and then in Alpha 3, um, he was still badass, but just the Shin Akuma version of him, just oh my god, that's all I have to say. Like the Shin Akuma version of him is truly the way it was is the way it was originally intended. That's all I have to say.
For me, like having no experience playing him and then picking up the character, it's one of the coolest things ever to Tatsu and then combo into the SRK right after. Like
Yeah, he was.
that never stops being fun.
Oh yeah, I totally agree.
Like, even if
He
there are times where there's much better things you can do, that's just always fun to do.
well that see now that makes me want to talk about Evil Ryu because Evil Ryu has some of those features.
Well, he is
Um,
on this list.
he is so I'm looking forward to that because he was introduced in Alpha 2, but we'll get to that. Let's move on to the next character, unless there's something else you want to.
No, go for it.
Okay. So next one on the list is Birdie. Yeah, boss. No, no, no. But the
Yeah,
different
not
Birdie.
that birdie. No, no,
No,
not
no.
that bird. Like I would I would have loved if it were that birdie.
Oh
But
yeah,
no, we got Street Fighter One birdie.
that made his way into Street Fighter Alpha.
I have no interest for this guy. I never have. Like, I guess he was sort of like filling in for Zangief in this game because there is no real Geef role.
I don't know if it's the Geef thing. You mean like a big guy type of role? I
Yes.
suppose. But he was always the big guy because he was in Street Fighter 1, if you recall.
Yeah. That's well, I just said that.
Right. So that's the whole thing is that, yeah, he's technically the OG before Geef, if
The
you want to get technical.
That is true. However, the proportions for characters in Street Fighter One were all messed up to begin with. We kind of already went over how buff Zangief is in Street Fighter One, and then you see him in Two, and he's kind of lean.
Yeah, I know.
Well, like I understand what they were doing again because lore-wise, this bridges the gap between Street Fighter One and Two. So it makes a lot more sense that they would incorporate a lot of characters from Street Fighter One. So I get why they brought him in, but outside of like the super with throwing people with the chain, I just don't care for this guy.
I felt like it was a challenge. Like whenever I played with him, whatever I did with him, it was always a challenge. But it was always fun too. So I don't know.
See,
But we
my
can
only
we can
real
we can move on.
well, my only real experience, like I've come across a couple of people that were really good with this character, and he's incredibly frustrating to fight, sure, but he just doesn't seem fun to play to me. And again, everybody has their different preferences on what types of characters they like. It's just not for me.
Yeah, I feel you. I hear you.
At
I think
least with
everybody has a different preference. Everybody has a you know. But
well, at least with Adon, for example, Adon looks like he should be fun, and then I just didn't mesh well with it. This character just
well,
doesn't seem fun to me.
like I said, he has some creativity to him as well. It's just I get what you're saying. It's just it's hard for me to say. Oh yeah, yeah, he's just a dull character. You know what I
It's
mean?
just like the short hop grab with the chain slinging. I'll give him credit for that. That's awesome. But nothing else he does seems interesting to me.
Oh well, I could get into the whole Street Fighter Five version, but I'll save that for when we get there.
Well, we're obviously basing this on Alpha 1, not.
Right.
Yeah.
So okay, let's go ahead and move on to the next character. So Charlie. Now that. So when I first saw him, I had mistaken him for Guile because of the fight style and all of
You
that.
did
Of course.
what?
I looked at his moves and I was like, "Is that Guile?"
Yeah,
That's what I
yeah, I
thought.
know. Like, I looked at Ryu's moves and I'm like, is that Ken?
Well, that was the thing that threw me off, and I was
He's
just like,
even got Ken's slippers in Street Fighter 1.
"Yeah, he stole those slippers." No, but when I saw that, I'm like, "What the hell?" And then you get to find out more information about him, and that this is the guy that's actually responsible for teaching the move set to Guile, if you will. So yeah, and hello everybody. I'm hiding behind him for anybody that's realizing that. Yep.
Over here, I'm cleaning his glasses off.
This is just. Oh yeah, I'm combing his hair. This is just the other hand for utility man, right? This is just another.
Please don't phrase it that way. Please don't phrase it that way.
It's his reach around.
We haven't gotten to Dalsim yet. Let's not mention the reach around.
Okay, stretch. Anyways, I thought when I first saw it, I thought he was just like a earlier version, if you will, of Guile. But then once I got to discover more about the character, I started to appreciate him more because originally and initially I was just like, huh, okay, whatever. But then later on I was like, oh, he's pretty cool. And yeah, okay, he's got a whole story to him. And then we're gonna go from into what happens to him with Shadow Charlie. That was pretty cool. And then a lot of people didn't understand the whole thing with Nash and then Charlie. So like in Japan or the Japanese version, he's known as Nash, whereas in the American version, he's known as Charlie. So I had a
far less confusing than Balrog, Vega, and Bison. Far less confusing.
That's for sure. It's like, I don't want to backtrack and go to Akuma, but it's like the whole thing with Goki and Akuma as well. But
yeah, I always understood. Okay, this is just his Japanese name. I got that perfectly fine. So the Charlie Nash thing never confused me.
Right. So the whole thing with him was he's got a pretty cool story. If you really go into the lore of the character. Moveset wise, I feel like he's got a lot that he brings to the table too. Like he could do some pretty cool things.
Yeah, he can do all of Guile's attacks except for the double sweep.
Right, but he also has this move where
not really, but you know
he lunges forward and then beats up the character. So he has some new different things that Guile, for example, did not have. You know what I mean?
Well, my first experience with this character obviously was X-Men vs. Street Fighter. I had no idea who this was. I just assumed, oh, well, they want a Guile-type character, but they didn't feel like Guile fit the game, so they went with Charlie.
Yeah.
And then I played Alpha afterwards, and I thought, okay, well, maybe Guile just isn't present in the story yet, so they went with Charlie. But
yeah.
No, I understand nowadays, and in a lot of ways, I actually like Charlie better than Guile, despite the fact that I play Guile a lot.
Yeah, no, I thought Charlie was pretty cool, and it was more for the whole thing that his story behind it that he trained Guile. It's also the they gave Guile some depth, if you will, because of the sheer fact that he's in it because of his friend. You know what I mean? Like they were not just like on the same team, training, fighting, whatever, in the army. They were also friends, and as a result, it was like, Guile's drive to avenge his friend or find out what happened to his friend, more or less, really. And I don't even want to get into the Street Fighter, the movie version of what happened with Guile, with Charlie, because that was just, ugh.
No,
I'm not gonna go there.
we can get into the movie when we get to Chun-Li if you want.
Well, that for me was always Tuesday.
Not that movie.
No, in that movie specifically. Unless you're talking about the animation, that's a whole other story.
Yes, the animation one, like the thing that everybody knows.
There you go. So speaking of Chun-Li, okay.
So I somewhat mentioned this last week, but Charlie's one of the characters that taught me the importance of normal attacks.
Okay.
Like, not everything is a sonic boom. Not everything is a flash kick. Knowing what normals outrange or out-prioritize what is extremely important, and you need that for this character.
Okay, I feel that. I can see that. I understand that. I can respect that. All right. Anything else?
No, go for it.
Okay, so next on the list is Chun-Li.
I just want to say right off the bat, sorry to anyone who may disagree. I love this outfit more than Classic.
Well, I like the sporty look. And the sporty look came from all of this too. So I don't know.
I absolutely love Alpha Chun-Li's outfit.
Particularly Alpha 1.
Well, not specifically Alpha 1, just in general. And I didn't think Alpha 1 was that much different than Alpha 3.
Yeah, I get that. She's definitely looking your way, though. I'll tell you that much.
Now, see, this time I don't mind. It was weird with Adon, but, this time I don't mind. Like, despite the fact that it's clearly one of those murderous intent looks, that's still better than how Adon was looking at me.
Yeah, I have a feeling you're not opposed to that kind of jump.
I'm not, how you say, unused to that kind of look either. I get that look from my wife a lot, so...
You're a dead man. I get it.
That's usually what it means, but as many times as I've been a dead man before and I'm not dead yet, I'm a survivor.
Cue the song. No, but she actually brought some pretty cool things to the Alpha series as well. I think they gave her a little bit more variation with like the fireball. I think that she was definitely a lot more animated. That's for sure in the Alpha
all
series.
The characters were more animated.
No, but she looked a lot better than compared to
the outfits.
Well, that's part of it. That's for sure.
I mean, that was definitely the thing for Cammy. Was the outfit.
That too. That also changed. I'll tell you that much. So, but yeah, no, it was definitely cool. Is there anything else you want to add on?
I wish I could add more to this character because I play her in the Marvel vs. games, but I'm just not good with her in traditional Street Fighter games. I just, and I mentioned this last week, characters that have attacks where you just mash the button really quickly, I was never good with them growing up. So yeah, I never bothered to learn them really.
No, I get that. I feel that.
And I guess I don't really need that attack too much in the Marvel vs. games, so I'm okay playing them.
Okay.
Love the character, just not good with her in Alpha or original.
I got you. I thought that she had some cool moves and all that. Like she had the whole, oh my god, the overhead kick came from Alpha. Like some new things that they added for her, which is pretty cool.
Well, I love the spinning bird kick, regardless of whether it's good or bad in the game. I just like that attack.
Yeah, no, that was a cool attack. But that was also in the regular Street Fighter too. I just feel like,
Oh, you got some drilling going on there.
yeah.
How appropriate.
Well, I'm behind it, so that just happens. Anyway, you wanna move on to the next character?
Go for it.
So this guy, he's got a thing for you, from what I can tell.
No, I will turn my cam off in a heartbeat.
You definitely upset him, but this is the original face of Dan. This is the original look that he had. And again, this is after one of the original creators of the StreetFighterAlpha series that they made as a character, if you will, as a joke.
Well, let's be thorough here. He's actually a parody of a parody.
Care to elaborate?
Well, obviously you had Ryu, and then the Art of Fighting games from SNK had Ryo Sakazaki, who was in a way a parody of Ryu, and then Capcom came back and made a parody of Ryo, making Dan. So we have a parody of a parody, and while he may look serious, he is anything but, if you believe.
Oh yeah.
Like he went complete goofball once the alpha games were over. I mean, I guess in a sense he kind of was in them too, but he didn't. He came across as someone who wasn't really strong, but was still trying. But once this series is over, he's just a goof in everything else.
Well, to be fair, he did evolve, and he did. A lot of people would pick him for what you just said with regards to him being a goof and whatnot. But he did have some interesting things that they developed, and that he did kind of become more. Yes, it was more of a challenge or whatever if you picked him, but there are ways you can play him that make it fun and interesting, such as the fact of, like, if you're doing the hurricane kick motion, it's completely different from the regular Shotos. And although he does have a fireball, it's obviously the worst interpretation.
Let's be fair. Officially, he's not a Shoto.
But he does have a SRK. Oh, many people consider him
as I mean, yes, in essence, he is a Shoto, but lore-wise, he is not a Shoto.
Lore-wise, he did study under the same style as Ryu and Ken for a period of time.
He created his own style.
Yes, he did create his own style. We'll give him that.
So, officially, he's not a Shoto, even if he kind of is.
Listen, if Bruce Lee wants to go and make Jeet Kune Do, who am I to stop him? But the man did go from his roots of being a kung fu master. That's all I gotta say.
Let's be fair. That's Bruce Lee. You're not going to stop him. Who couldn't stop Dan?
I'm just saying. That's what it is.
If we're being fair, most of the background characters and stages could beat Dan.
Again, I'm just saying that's what it is. That's all.
And I like the character. I'm not trying to smear him at all. This is just fact. He is that weak.
I get it.
His initial Son Goku Satsu type move kills him.
Okay.
So
that's later on. That's later on, but
okay.
That's, to be fair, we're gonna stay in alpha.
It's not like you can't be effective with the character. Yes, you can be, but he's still designed to be a goof, effective or not.
I feel that. Anything else you want to add on from a man, Dan? Dan the man?
The fact that the man has a move where he autographs something and throws it at you is amazing.
Wrong game.
I know, but it's still the character, and I can't take anything away from him.
What I loved the most about the character was actually in the Alpha 2 intro. I'd like to play the Alpha 2 intro because what he did in the Alpha 2 intro was pretty cool.
Well, you don't think we
Like
should wait till Alpha 2 to do that?
Well, we're going down the list of
Okay.
characters.
Okay.
So I'd like to show off the Alpha 2 intro, where he does the kick in the Alpha 2 intro, which is really, really cool.
I'm surprised he doesn't injure his foot.
Oh, but that intro with Akuma, when that came on, oh man, I thought that was badass. Now this looks like the okay, this looked like a console version for some reason.
You might be playing the console version.
Oh, I am.
You did this last week too. Congrats.
I am. Okay, I see it. I'm playing the arcade.
I specifically named them something so you wouldn't.
I didn't know that you wanted to do that conversation about the NES like that. Oh my goodness!
I mentioned it earlier. In fact, I mentioned it on the stream.
Oh my god, I fell for it. It's cool.
For what?
It's cool.
I gotta mention how great that Akuma looks, but why does he look like a console Akuma?
Oh god, here we go.
Oh, I mean, I'm fine seeing that part again.
I love the way they put this together back then, though.
That right there is why he replayed this to see Chun-Li's butt again. I assure you.
Sure. That's definitely why. No, but I thought this intro was pretty cool, and this is the scene I'm talking about where Dan comes out with his kick. And here we go with the Ryu and Ken. This is what I was talking about in reference to that old scene. If they combined segments from the Alpha 1 intro and Alpha 2 with that, I think that would be awesome. That's all I have to say.
Now, if only they'd shown the after effect of Dan having to bandage his foot.
No, but that was cool too. That was definitely cool.
You're not going to make any mention of Dan going after Sagat or anything. Like, that's kind of important to his lore.
Well, hello, we're about to go back to the character.
Okay.
So, you want to talk about his actual story? How he's out there to avenge his father? Go ahead.
I thought you might mention it, at least, since you were going through the story segments.
Keep in mind, I am a little tired. So, this is why we have the two of us, so we can bounce off one another. I'm bouncing right now.
Are you bouncing because you don't remember?
I'm bouncing.
Because you don't remember, like Dan tracking down Sagat only for Sagat to let him win the fight.
Well,
come on.
Story goes, I don't we should probably focus on Sagat when we talk about his eye patch, but the father, Dan's father, ended up fighting Sagat, and apparently that's what he did, is he took out his eye.
Wasn't his name Go Hibiki?
I believe so.
Okay, I got that right.
I believe so. But his whole drive, Dan's drive, is because of his father. Like, he's in it because of his dad.
Yeah.
That was his real drive. And his real drive was to train hard and eventually come out on top, beating up on Sagat.
Yeah, good luck.
That was his thing.
I love Dan as much as the next person goes, but let's be honest, he'll never beat Sagat in a real fight.
No, I don't think so either. I don't think he would actually ever beat Sagat. But, we got fans out there of Dan fans saying that he's the man. Of course, the super taunt was the best. That's another good one. The super taunt was pretty cool. I agree.
I will just say this right now. If somebody does the super taunt and you don't let them finish, that's bad manners. You have to let the move finish. You have to. I don't care if there's 2 seconds left and you're going to lose by time. You have to let it finish.
I don't want to steer away from Alpha, but what I like is that they kept that in future iterations of the character as well. Like in different games, he still had the super taunt.
Well, it was so iconic.
For him, oh yeah, it was.
I mean, even going so far as some games letting him build meter when he taunts.
I agree. I agree. And I thought that was pretty cool.
It makes sense for the character, yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I mean, he'll never get a top tier spot because of his taunt, but it's worth it. It's a good trade off.
Oh, it certainly is. I think so.
Okay.
So, but yeah, I think the character's pretty cool. I thought what came off as a spoof evolved into a beloved Street Fighter character
A
ultimately.
parody of a parody.
Yeah. No, but he had they even gave him a good storyline too. So, all
Well,
right.
let's be fair. Like, you could have given him a bad storyline and people would have liked this character.
I could see that.
Like, he's a funny character. It's hard not to like him.
I could see that.
Okay.
I could certainly see that happening. So are you ready to move on to the next character?
Yes, I am.
All right, let's go with that. So next one up is Guy, who doesn't look like he's too happy with you, Utility Man.
Are you going to make that joke every time now?
I'm just saying, if you look at these faces, that's what it is.
So, outside of characters that I already played, this was the first alpha character I learned.
The very first.
The very first. Like, the moment I saw that jump flipping body slam move, the power bomb, like, I was in love with playing this character. There's so much fun to catch people with that.
Well, I thought it was cool. I thought he had like a lot with that. I can't disagree. I thought that was a pretty cool move, and I thought that his whole design overall is cool. And you got to keep in mind that he comes from the whole Final Fight game, and at one point that was the whole thing with quote unquote Street Fighter '89, and I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys have heard about that. So I could see that, Oh, I know. Welcome to Die. I know.
Yeah,
I know that's
since Street Fighter 2 was originally going to be Street Fighter 89, I guess they thought it only made sense to bring in some Final Fight characters to the Alpha series.
That's
And
why they did.
I mean, he certainly won't be our last Final Fight character on this list, but for me,
No.
this was my first Alpha character, the first character I learned how to combo with, the first character I actually tried to become good with, and I will play him in whatever game he's in. I love this character.
I think that they wanted to have a character that was kind of like Ryu, and I think that ported over to creating Guy. And I know that you're going to go with, yes, yeah, that's the face I expected.
But he's nothing like Ryu.
He does have a version of the Tatsu, although it's completely different. Hear me out.
You already got into hot water on that on another talk show.
I know I did, and I'm sticking to my guns, because if you play the side scroller and you think about it,
He's not a Shoto.
No. I know he's not a Shoto. I'm saying the concept and the ideas from Final Fight and Street Fighter are all there in one, is what I'm saying. Like, they wanted a protagonist that had certain movesets, whether it be the fighting game that we got with Street Fighter 2, or it was the side scroller with Final Fight. Was the concept and idea was the very similar with regard to the main protagonist.
Well, if you want to go with the 3 Final Fight 1 characters, he's probably the least like Ryu.
I don't know. To me, like growing up as a kid, he seemed like a different iteration or version of Ryu. And when I was a kid, I thought it actually was Ryu.
What?
Yes. Call me whatever you want, but that was what I had thought.
You thought this was Ryu, and
When
you
I
call
saw Final
yourself a
Fight,
Ryu fan.
when I saw Final Fight, right? When I saw Final Fight and I saw this character after Street Fighter 2, okay? I was like, okay, so this is a different version of
I
Ryu.
saw this tall, lanky character who looks nothing like Ryu. He must be Ryu just because he has a spin kick, and nobody else has that.
Again, that was what I had thought. I had thought, like, okay, this is just a different variation until I saw the name and I was like, why did they call him Guy? Was it because he was just some guy? You know what I
No,
mean?
that's a mistranslation. It's supposed to be Gaiju.
There you go. You want to elaborate on that one?
No, because I'm joking.
Is it supposed to be Gayu?
No, it's not.
I'm just saying. If you know something I don't, feel free to share it.
We would never end this stream if I did that.
Oh boy. The never ending stream.
No, I'm just going to call him Gaiju for you since you think he's a Shoto.
Well, again, I'm telling you, as a child, that was what my interpretation was.
Yeah, anybody who doesn't know what I'm talking about, go back and watch our fight talk on Shotos.
Anyways, moving forward, though, I thought he was pretty cool. I thought he was pretty badass for the most part. That was my whole take.
Growing up as a young child and or young teen, it's kind of hard to look at a ninja and not think that's cool. It's a ninja.
Right, he is a ninja, I know. But again, like I said, I didn't expect that, if you will, you know?
Well, I don't necessarily expect a ninja to leap 40 feet in the air and power bomb somebody. No, but he does, and it's extremely cool.
I get that. No, I get that too. I
Not to
hear you.
mention, he has his own Shungo Kusatsu in a sense.
Yeah, he has some pretty cool moves.
Yes, he
That's
does.
true.
Yeah, the whole dynamic of a move where he starts to run at you first and then can either do an overhead or a low, it's very cool. And it may not be great in practicality, but it's still cool to have the option.
Yeah, I get that. I get that. All right. Anything else you want to talk about
No, I think we're done with Gaiju. Oh,
all right.
look, it's Red Ryu.
Oh boy. Did he finally get his slippers back? Did he finally get his slippers back?
No, I'm pretty sure he's still barefoot.
Yeah, he was barefoot. Matter of fact, he got so mad that he tore up Ryu's slippers. He said, "You know what? If I can't have them, then no one can have them."
I think it's more along the lines of nobody should wear those.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. No, but I like what they did with Ken in the Alpha series. I felt like they gave him they emphasized on the differences between Ryu and Ken even more so in the Alpha series, where they started to add more different move sets and differences between the characters as they evolved more and more. You know, like, and I'm specifically talking about like Alpha 3 more than anything else.
Yeah,
You
so
can
jumping
see
ahead a little bit, but yeah.
you can see more distinct differences. And I'd like to reference the Street Fighter 2 movie, where I think that what they did with a lot of things with the Street Fighter movie was the whole scene between Ryu and Ken, where they're facing off with one another, and Ken does have the long hair, if you will, and he ends up kicking Ryu in the head, and Ryu starts to bleed. As a result, Ken unties his headband. I mean, the band that held his hair together, and ties it over Ryu's head, and that's what is really Ryu's headband.
Well,
You know what I mean?
yeah, which I kind of mentioned earlier, but you're leaving out a little bit there.
You want to add on?
Like
Go ahead.
that was supposed to help him not succumb to the Satsui no Hedo.
Well, that's a whole different interpretation. Not you talking about Street Fighter, the movie, the one with god,
The Anna.
I'm just tired. The whole Anasatsuki Assassin's Fist, if you will.
Well, I mean, that's what I remember. If that's not kin to the game, forgive me, but that's what I remember.
Well, yes, in the game that was a whole other interpretation, and that was Alpha 2, if I recall correctly. I'm talking about the animation, Street Fighter 2, the movie.
Okay, well, good thing you
Not the
clarified.
games.
I don't want people thinking we're talking about the live action movie, because if you look
Well,
at Ryu and Ken in that movie, you won't know who they are.
that's why I'm referencing both, so that people can understand. In the animation, they did that, and why I'm bringing the animation up is because aside from just the whole headband thing and interpreting that and putting that into the Alpha games, they did the same thing for Alpha 3 where Bison had abducted Ken and he turned Ken into quote unquote insane Ken or evil Ken, however you want to look at it. My best version of it was the possessed Ken with psycho power.
Yeah, you have the violent Ken as well. That's
Or violent Ken, whatever interpretation you want to call him, whatever name you want to give him. He ends up fighting Ryu. He ends up going after Ryu. And they did that in the whole Alpha 3 ending where they fought one another, where Ryu ends up fighting Ken, who's possessed. And that's literally taken from that animation. And I thought that was so cool when I was a kid playing that in the arcade for the first time, and I saw how they brought that back, like that scene where Bison takes Ken and tosses him to the side, and then you're facing off of, fighting Bison. That was literally what happened in the animation. So a lot of those things brought back, I'm just getting goosebumps talking about it because it's nostalgia for me.
You're leaving out the most important part, though.
What's that?
So before Ken is possessed, when him and Ryu actually have a fight, Ken wins.
Yes.
This is the most important part because again, it proves Ken is better than Ryu.
You're talking about Alpha 2.
Yes. And again, Ken is better than Ryu.
Ryu's like even Ken said to him that your head was not clear and you were not there in the fight.
Cop out.
You just want to harp on my man Ryu. That's all it is.
Cop out.
No, I thought Ken is pretty cool. I love Ken's character in that. I thought Ken had a lot going on with that. But my whole thing with it, again, talking about lore, talking about whatever, is what they did, like with Alpha 3 and the interpretation of that. I thought that was awesome. That's all I got to say.
Oh, no, that's fair. I agree.
So, again, Ken does have distinct differences between Ryu in the Alpha series, but particularly Alpha 3, I would say.
One has the overhead punch, the other has the overhead kick.
Yep, that was the biggest thing, but they did that also in Super Turbo.
Yeah.
And they just brought it over.
And the overhead kick is better.
Oh, you know what? I'm not even going to bother with that. Why don't we move on?
We can always bring up the tier lists again if you want.
Let's move on to the next character. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, the character the title of this podcast is named after.
Yeah. Mr. Bison. No. So the whole thing with Bison is you I feel like they in the Alpha series they've developed him a lot more with regards to the psycho power.
Well, it was
Because
kind of hard for them to not develop him a lot more. He hardly any development beforehand. He was
right.
just the last guy until Akuba.
And then when you got to know a lot more about him, you thought that, oh, okay, that's cool. And then you got to learn about the psycho power. And they even added the whole Shadowloo element to it, where you have the skull with the wings, that whole logo came about. But again, I feel like the anime, which was huge and successful, spawned a lot of that.
I would agree.
You know, that whole Street Fighter 2 anime, I think that was what spawned it. I felt like that was what made a lot of these things happen. And again, like making that reference with what I did with Ken, where Bison's things that he did in the anime were ported over like to that Alpha 3 um, scene where he takes Ken and throws him to the side and then fights Ryu and all that. I felt like that was awesome. I felt like that was cool just to see those things. You know, I just want to focus on that. And then Alpha 3 Bison was like the true Bison or the Shinin Bison.
Yeah, the Psycho Crusher that takes like the entire screen and
yes,
like it comes out so fast and almost one shots you, and oh my gosh.
Yes. That playing in the arcade was the craziest thing.
That was so miserably frustrating.
Oh yeah. He gets you with that, he literally like kills you.
I'm not a Vism master, so I might as well go ahead and give up the round. He's won. Take it.
That's pretty much how I felt about it too.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That was just awesome to me, man.
Well, I'm thankful for the little bits of story they gave us in that, as well as the animated movie, because back then fighting games didn't really go into much depth with story.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
that's true.
We had a little bit at the start, and then a little bit after you finish your character's story, and you don't even know whose is canon and whose isn't.
True.
Because a lot of the endings conflict with one another. But thanks to stuff like the movie that kind of adds in some of those missing pieces, it helps you appreciate it more.
They did have different animations, and a lot of them also went all over the place with things. But that particular animation, Street Fighter 2 the anime, was the best interpretation, I'd say.
Okay.
You know? Now, Alpha 1 and Alpha 2 Bison, they were cool too, and he had that, you know, he looked like he was beefy. But the Alpha 3 version, oh my god, that Shin and Bison, just like we were talking about, man, that was just crazy.
Like there's two things to know about this character. He is broken in Championship Edition, and Shin Bison is broken in Alpha 3. Like that is some annoying, just making it all the way to the end of the game and just watching your allowance disappear from this one character.
Just that one move. It's like, and then he would wind up. Like you would see him wind up and go back, and you were like, "No, it's coming."
Yeah, but at one point, because it's an AI, he can fling it out whenever. There's no method to the madness. It's just I'm gonna randomly do it, and it's going to hit most of the time because I'm an AI.
My man, console fanboys out there, Ukraine strong, brother. He goes, Bison is the Sonya of Street Fighter. Cheap. He says, ban Bison, ban him.
I can deal with regular Bison, but screw Shin Bison. That's just an annoying boss fight.
So I was just talking about this, CJ. Like I was just saying how much the whole thing with like particularly Alpha 3 was a lot of like the whole scene with Bison at the end with like Ken and him tossing Ken and then Ryu going Ken and Bison interjecting
Great
and
interpretation.
oh my god, yeah, bro. That was yeah. No, I get you just got here. I'm just saying that whole thing, bro. That was my like as a child, like I just grew up with that. It was so sick. And yes, they did do the dramatic battle. And I feel I think you'll agree with me, like the anime inspired it, the whole Ryu and Ken versus Bison. And I have like some footage and shout out to my man Sia's Vagrant, who actually I saw earlier today and I bumped into it. But bro, he was amazing. Oh my god, console fanboy. Just because Ukraine's strong, lunch is on me. Have a good night. Yo, bro, have a good night, my man. Thank you so much for always
Shouldn't
stopping
that
by
be
and being
U.S.
here, bro.
Ukraine strong? U.S. Like
No, I
why is it
said
UA?
UA for Ukraine strong.
But why is that Ukraine strong? That's UA. I don't understand.
So that's the thing. It comes off on here as UA because when you're seeing it on here, it's UA. But if you look on stream, you'll actually see the flag.
Oh well, see, I
It's
don't
a,
see it on Streamyard either.
so it's an interpretation of the way it's interpreted with the flag. I think if you put U.S., you would get the United States flag.
No, well, I get what you're saying now, but since I'm looking at the chat, obviously I just see the
Yes,
letters.
yes, and
Okay,
yes,
I
I
get.
did see the Japanese version. Matter of fact, I actually own the Japanese soundtrack. I have a disc. It's a little scratched up. It's so old, but it still plays and it works. And I used to love the soundtrack to the Japanese. Man, I would walk around with like a CD player Walkman listening to that. That was my thing when I was
Let's
like,
all acknowledge the important lesson we just learned there. Never let him borrow anything. He scratches up his own disc. How do you think he's going to treat yours?
again, this is when I was a teen, bro. This is when I was a teen.
How do you think he's going to treat your stuff?
Ugh. Anyways, I do love the fact that they started doing the movie references, how they brought all that in. I thought that was awesome. And yeah, the music was definitely memorable, and the music was just amazing. I still remember I remember the trailer to the anime too, where the first time I saw Ryu and Ken actually fighting Bison, I saw the whole battle between. It starts off with the whole battle between Ryu and Sagat, and seeing that was just so amazing. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, but they didn't have to deal with the full screen Psycho Crusher that takes most of your health.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, for sure.
Like they got back up more times than we were able to.
True, true, true.
No, and I'm
So
just gonna piggyback off that. Like playing against Super Turbo Akuma was frustrating, but the loss felt like my fault. Losing to Shen Bison does not feel like my fault. It's just, well, the AI decided to do this near instant killing move now, so I guess I'm screwed. That
no, I
didn't
get that.
feel like a fair loss.
I get that. I do get that.
Now, as
So
far as playing in Bison goes, I just don't. Like, I learned him in Marvel 2, but I've never practiced him in the Street Fighter games.
well, I thought he was okay. I was never that into him as well. I thought he was pretty okay. And then when I saw the whole Shin and Bison version though, I thought that was amazing.
Yeah, but that's just mainly like that one move is all you need to see. It's like how do I pick this character?
That's true too. That's true too.
I
But
hate that boss fight. I hate
I
that.
do think he had a good story. I thought that it was creative. I thought it was pretty cool. You know, they added on more to the character, and I just the whole thing with the Alpha series just brought more depth to the characters in general.
Well, before we move on, I also feel like I have to point out we haven't really discussed this much because we haven't gotten to Alpha 3 yet, but World Tour mode in Alpha 3, where the final battle is two Shin and Bisons.
Yeah,
Uh-uh. Nothing is worth going through that.
that's true.
Nothing.
Hey, that's what you listen. What you know? What the one thing I gotta say aside from that is he's giving the stare down to my man utility man. That's all I gotta say, Mike. He's hiding. I didn't
No,
think he
see,
thought it
I'm
through.
not hiding. This is like a realistic rendition of the Psycho Crusher where it just consumes everything that you are,
There
and
you
you're left
go.
with no health bar.
No, but it's funny though. Like you'll see a lot of these facing that direction. I mean, you know, from the player one side, I don't think he thought it through with regards to some of these looks. I mean, I don't
Keep
want to go
in
back.
mind, I thought BloodTide was going to be here tonight, and in that
Just
case, I would have been the low middle box, and they would have
just
all
look
been
at this
staring at
look.
him.
Just
My
look at this
gosh,
look. I
no,
get it. You just get on. This
no,
is
no.
I
He has ideas, and I want to be a part of none of them. Thank you.
he's got that look like, hey there, utility man. Hey. I'm sorry. I brought back Bison. All right. All
Oh,
right.
because that's so much better.
Yeah, you know what? I'm just gonna make my avatar add on for later on for fun. That's all. That's all.
Oh my gosh. I think you can move on if you're done.
All right, let's move on because we have oh my god, such a roster to go through. It's not even funny.
Now I will bring it back.
So we got Rose going on now.
Oh, is that
So
why BloodTide was sick? Because he lost at Tekken 7? Yeah, I could see that. Did you
what
have
was
nothing to
that?
say? BloodTide is apparently sick because he lost at Tekken 7.
Oh, that's a whole other topic in itself. I'm not gonna. Yeah. Wow. Oh my god,
Yeah,
that is
if
terrible.
only he were here to confirm.
He's probably sleeping right now. Again,
Okay,
okay.
I hope my man Bloodside feels better. That's all I have to say. So
Okay, so I'm going to be honest with here. I know everybody's going to hate me for this. I don't like this character.
wow, what's wrong? So wrong about Rose?
Like, the sash thing is cool. I couldn't give a crap about her otherwise.
So okay, here's the thing about Rose. I felt like
Everybody loves her, but I'm sorry, I
no,
just don't.
no, I get it. I felt like she was a little dull and boring and whatnot. I get that, and but I thought that the whole mysticism, if you will, or the fact that she was the psychic or whatever, was kind of cool. But the truth is that I only started to appreciate the character more so when I started when the with regards to the lore, of course, with the connection with Bison, and that you discover that Bison was really he was like he ended up using her body as a host for himself at one point. Oh yeah, I see the face, but
Yeah,
that
that really makes me want to appreciate this character.
no.
You never know when it's Bison in disguise.
No, but there is no. See, that's the whole thing. There's more to it because she fights that, overcomes it. She ends up defeating Bison in many ways as well. There's a whole story to that in itself. Um, when I first reading it as a child and like growing up, I thought that this was his wife or his girl at one point. Yeah, but I
never got that impression.
that was the impression or assumption I had until I had read into the story. But again, I thought that she was pretty cool. I do want to skip the next character though and save that for last.
Why?
Just because.
No.
We saved the best for last.
No.
We saved the best for last.
No, you have no, because if you want to go based on that, our final character is Yun, and nothing against Yun. I wouldn't call him the best in Alpha 3.
No. I'm talking about none other than my favorite character.
We're not saving Palette Swap Ken for last.
Listen, this is not Palette Slap Ken.
Palette
Okay?
Slap? Palette Slap.
My God, I'm slurring my words. Yes, honey, I know. See, I'm getting slapped. No. Now I'm getting slapped. Oh, but yes, this is the GOAT. Like my man said, this is the protagonist of our story. This is
he definitely gets around and eats like a goat. I will agree with that.
See, even my man Mike understands. He said Ken wishes he could be Ryu.
I don't think Ken wishes he could be a hobo and give away all his money. I seriously doubt that. Like, he gave Ryu the headband. It should be enough, but it wasn't.
Wow. Just wow.
Like, first he gave him the headband, then he gave him a lesson in Shotokan.
I can go on and on about this character, but he is the primary role. He is the protagonist of our story in Street Fighter. And I love what they did with this. What I did not like, though, and I'll tell you this now, I did not like the white headband. I actually felt like they should have not given him a headband at all. And stayed.
Why?
Because they should have given him the red headband in the Alpha series, like after Alpha 2.
Okay. Now, I would agree with that, but he definitely should have started with the white headband.
Well, I like if you look at Street Fighter 1, he does not have a headband.
Right.
He doesn't.
Because that's between, this is between 1 and 2.
Right. So what they should have done, they should have had Ryu continue without a headband, and they should have only had the red headband, and that's it. The reason why I think they gave him the white headband was because too many people got used to him with a headband. But to be fairly honest, I felt like that only added to more confusion. Until you saw the ending where Ken actually wins and gives him the headband, only then did it make sense.
You mean the canon ending where Ken actually wins?
Okay, well, to be completely honest, yes, it's canon. I'll give you that.
And who won Street Fighter 2 again?
Again, I'm talking about the headband.
No, come on now.
You don't have to derail this.
No, this is important. Why does Ken keep beating Ryu?
Well, okay. Let's move on to the next character.
No, we're having fun.
Since everybody knows about Ryu.
We're having a lot
and
of
we
fun.
We are only a quarter through this massive list.
Okay.
And I have my wife even say to me, "Oh my God." So
done by morning.
She's like, "We won't be done by morning. We need to split up the stream."
Don't worry, we're gonna get to characters that neither one of us plays.
Save something for next time.
All right, let's move on to this big mountain of muscle that has a thing for you.
The
Looks
guy
like
that came in and it's like, why would you play Ryu when you can play this? He does everything better.
wow. Just wow.
Tell me where I'm wrong there.
Just wow.
He literally did everything better. His fireball is better. His Shoryuken is better. His range is better.
So even Mike thinks that he's better. He's saying the second GOAT. So the thing is, Sagat was just bigger.
I
Wow.
mean, I'm not necessarily certain that makes one man better than another, but I guess you're free to have that opinion.
Wow. I don't know. You know, the bigger they are, the harder they fall. That's all I gotta say. Keyword had. Like Mike said, Sagat had everything. Keyword had.
I mean, he
The man
did,
fell.
except for the win in the storyline that he probably should have gotten.
Wow, this guy with his Ken.
Oh, you're
Thank you,
welcome.
Utility Man, for sticking up for my Ken.
You're welcome, because, again, at least Ken has some uniqueness to him
Wow.
that you would pick him over Sagat. Ryu really didn't.
Just wow. Wow. Okay. All right. All right.
Besides, the best thing is that Sagat doesn't have a headband, which apparently is what Blast wanted.
Well, imagine if he did. He'd look like a large version of a Don. That's all. Because a Don has like a Muay Thai headband, if you will, which is actually, I think, referred to as a crown. There are iterations or versions where they do have that with Sagat because he was the king of Muay Thai. So, yeah, I see that, you know.
Don't worry, I respect Ryu. I just like picking on Blast.
I like the whole story with him. Like, so you don't discover about his eye patch. Like, he did not have his eye patch in Street Fighter One. He got his eye patch because we talked about it earlier with Dan's father fighting him and gave him that. You know, like he. That's why he lost his eye to go Hibiki, if you will. But and he kills Dan's father. But I don't remember if that was actually in the game. That was actually something I read somewhere, if I recall correctly.
I
Lore wise.
can't 100% remember if that was in the game or not.
But he was a lot. I mean, I felt like he was a lot cooler, and he was just compared to like the Street Fighter Two version. You got like this skinny dude, but when you look at him in Alpha, he's just so massive and huge, which I felt like was the right thing to do and the right interpretation. And again, I want to reference the Street Fighter 2 anime because I feel like that's where they got it from.
But you kind of have to feel bad for this character
Why?
because look at their roots here.
I mean, look at
Ryu
his
goes
face. He just looks so upset.
well.
He looks like he's
Ryu
disgusted with you.
Ryu and Ken went through Street Fighter One and came out better for it. Sagat went through Street Fighter One and came out with a scar and an eye patch. Like,
Well, well, he got
it's
it.
kind of unfair to him.
Well, that's why he has that face.
Like, you'd think if anybody had to go through that game, they'd be rewarded for it. Sagat was not.
Man, if only I could play that intro right now.
Oh my gosh! Well, you removed it.
I did remove it. I should have kept it. It's fine. I will leave that alone. I will leave it alone.
Oh, hey, they're asking exactly what you were talking about.
Well, he got his scar. They really show it in the Street Fighter 2 anime. If you watch the Street Fighter 2 anime, you will see how he gets his scar where Ryu ends up doing the Shoryuken and actually tears a scar in his chest.
Well, are you sure they're not asking which game was the first one where he had the scar?
Well, he got this. Well, you see the scar in the Alpha series and in Street Fighter 2. In Street Fighter 1, he does not have a scar.
Right.
Yes, it was Ryu that gave him the scar. That's correct. But in the whole story wise, like if you looked at Street Fighter One, he had both eyes. No, I'm not talking about Street Fighter Two Victory or V. That series was great. I loved it too, but that was not like I hate to say it, that was not actual canon. They referenced Street Fighter to the animated movie, if you will, as what's true canon, and how they brought a lot of that into the Alpha games. Yeah, the movie, Mike. That's the one that I'm talking about. Especially that scene in the beginning where Ryu is fighting Sagat, and he tears through his chest with a Shoryuken. So yeah, that's where that happened. And then the whole thing with his eye patch, I don't remember if that was actually in a game. I remember reading that. That's the truth about that. Like I remember seeing pictures of him holding somebody that was resembling Dan's father, if you will.
Yeah.
But I
See,
never
I
you
remember that
image,
same
right?
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I can't remember where I saw that from. But I definitely remember that.
So it's tough. Like I'm trying to recall exactly where that was, but I remember something of that sort. So yeah, he did kill Dan's father, and that's what
Hence
actually
Dan being on the
whole.
quest for him.
That's why Dan, yeah, like you said, he went on the quest to go and find Sagat, and then that was the whole drive behind it. So that was definitely what happened there.
You know, it's
You know?
actually kind of strange thinking of Sagat as that way because in the storyline wise, he's not actually joining M. Bison because he's a bad guy. He just wants to fight Ryu again.
No, he actually did not get the eye patch from Ryu. He got the eye patch from Dan's father. That's really what happened. So yeah.
I can
But
assure you, if looking at his own interpretation in Street Fighter 1 didn't make him go blind, Ryu didn't make him go blind.
yeah, no, he didn't go blind. He did not. But I did think he was a pretty cool character. Right. So like my man said, Ryu says Dan's dad took Sagat's eye. That's exactly what it was. All right, then I'll look at it later. So, I I definitely think Sagat was a cool character in general, for the most part.
Oh, for sure. Because again, like my first experience playing against him is like, okay, the fireball's better, the uppercut's better, the normals are better. Why would anybody pick Ryu over this guy?
Well, that's what the whole interpretation with him is all about.
And yet Ryu beats him in the story.
Well, that's later on. If you read the comics in like Udon comics, they make the whole thing about the Satsui no Hado being
Yeah.
the culprit of why he was able to even give him that scar to begin with.
Yeah, that explosion of anger.
Right, and that was the whole thing in the actual comics, if you will. But that depends on your, what you determine as what's the correct interpretation or lore, if you will. So
That's usually the one I think of first.
there you go. So we do have a big list to cover. I'd like to go to the next character, though.
Okay.
You ready, or you have anything else you want to add on?
I mean, we're still in Alpha 1, right?
We're still doing. Yeah, this will be the last
Okay.
one for Alpha One. But
Okay.
this character has also been another character, and he's so big and massive that he's finally covering the both of us.
So yeah, this for me, and I don't know why this didn't click, because I mentioned I loved playing as Guy earlier, but I never really thought about, oh, Guy's in Final Fight, now he's in Alpha. But for some reason, I made that connection with this guy. He's like, wait, isn't he that boss from Final Fight?
Yeah, somebody, my man, I'm not sure if I'm saying the name right. Hecate. Uh, I'm just tired, so if I mispronounce it, my apologies.
It's
Um,
okay. He mispronounces other names. You should see Circus Meal.
yeah, Circus Meal is my favorite. Leave Circus Meal alone. But yeah, he's saying he's a Final Fight character, and the thing is that I actually, for the longest time, and you're gonna be laughing, when the Darkstalkers came out, I thought he was the
Please
same
tell me
dude.
you're not. No.
Yes.
He's not Bishamon.
Again, I was a kid. That's what I thought. That's not the case. I definitely know he's not. Um, I don't know the full story behind him, but I believe that he was with the circus, if I'm not mistaken. All jokes aside, with regards to a circus meal.
Yeah.
Oh, he said I
How
pronounced it
ironic.
right, by the way. Look at that. Thank you,
Yeah,
brother. I
now
appreciate
you
it.
remember how you pronounced is the case.
There you go. I appreciate that.
So
So,
yeah, like my experience with this guy from Final Fight, I made it to the end of the stage. Now all of a sudden I'm in a wrestling ring getting destroyed by this guy. I assume there's some explanation in the arcade version, but there's not in the Super Nintendo version.
well, again, I felt like Sodom, I think that's how you pronounce his name correctly.
I
Uh,
thought it was Sodom, like sodomy.
is it Sodom or Sodom? I thought it was Sodom for some
I
reason.
thought it was Sodom because again, sodomy.
Perhaps.
Well,
Uh,
because again, his name was actually censored in some games here, where they just called him Katana, I believe.
well, apparently he was part of the Mad Gear gang in Final Fight,
Yeah.
and that's how he started to kind of go shoot up the ranks, if you will. Um, so again, I don't know too much about him. All I know is like what my man Hikate said, that he was with in Final Fight, and he was part of the Mad Gear gang, and that he's pretty much up there, if you will. So he is a Final Fight character. So kudos and respect on that. Now I think there was some reference that he was also like with the, like if you look at his stage, if you will, you'll notice there's a tent, there's like a circus thing or theme, if you will, to it. Um, but he's highly like he's representing his heritage with the Japanese culture, and that's something that I read as well. That he, as a child, grew up and he was representing that. But that's the background that I know about in reference to this character. Do you have anything utility?
Honestly, I don't have anything more than you did lore wise about the character. Gameplay wise, I can talk about him.
Feel free. I mean, I thought his design is pretty cool. You know, the fact that he uses size and all that, I thought was pretty cool as well. You know,
Now,
so
for me, not, I don't know why. Like this just kind of happened. I mentioned again earlier, I played Guy a lot. This was the other alpha character I played, and I don't remember if that had anything to do with it being a Final Fight thing. I don't assume so. I just really liked this character. His recovery attack was awesome for me. Like he gets knocked down, but doesn't go down fully, and then he kind of rushes at you with the size.
yeah, that's
Like
pretty
nice
cool.
little surprise attack. And the fact that he also has that command grab attack was a lot of fun to me.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. Actually, I totally agree.
And again, like I'm blanking. Like this was back in 2001, so obviously I don't remember entirely. I honestly think it was just coincidence that him and Guy are the two characters that I learned to play. Obviously, I didn't have Dalzim at the time,
Yeah,
so I couldn't fall back to my main. I don't know. He was just a fun character.
yeah, he
Uh,
was.
yeah, and I definitely like the size because again, Raphael is my favorite Ninja Turtle, so I might be a little biased there.
I get that. No, that's fine. That's fine.
Like the
Well,
whole kabuki Japanese theme, I've always liked that kind of stuff.
I got you. Well, why don't we move forward? Next character on the list is one of the characters that I like to use in some of these games, but it was more, I would say, Street Fighter Five, like some of the newer games. Um, but she was pretty cool in the Alpha series as well.
Well, this is where I mentioned around the start of the stream that we were going to make an X-Men vs. Street Fighter connection. This is the character right here, because you can see she's definitely modeled after her X-Men vs. Street Fighter version.
Well, they kept that version in the Alpha series. Again, Alpha came first, but in this case, like you said, X-Men versus
Well,
Street Fighter had her in the game, and then she was in Alpha 3. I don't
but
recall her being in Alpha 2.
she is an Alpha too.
She is?
Yes, she is.
Does she have the same out? Oh, wait a minute. She's not so. You can't. I don't know if you could play as her, is what I'm referencing.
You can actually Street Fighter Alpha 2 Gold. You can select her.
That's right, the gold version. But the standard arcade is really what
Standard,
I'm talking
no,
about.
no, not
Yeah, I
standard.
didn't think
She
so.
was added in gold.
She
And
wa-
again, she is based off her X-Men vs. Street Fighter counterpart.
she did appear in like if you played as Bison, and she would report back to him. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like I thought that was cool.
I have heard that they did a lot of retconning with her lore, though, regarding Street Fighter 2 in this game.
Yeah, she
Like, I don't.
was.
It's to the point where I don't know what is canon and what's not. Canon spike with this character. I don't know anymore what's actually real storyline and what's not with her.
Well, from my whole thing and what I understanding is her storyline. Yes, it has been a little all over the place, but ultimately she was controlled by Bison, and she was known as Killer B. She was referenced as that, and she was a soldier for him, like one of the top soldiers. And what ended up happening was she eventually broke free of the mind control, and if I recall correctly, like Chun Li ends up helping her, and then she also ends up joining Delta Force and some other things, as we all discovered later on, if you played as the character. Um, However, it was true with regards to Bison controlling her, and during the alpha phase, what you're seeing here with this outfit and all that was when she was one quote unquote one of the dolls, because Bison had a series of girls that he controlled, if you will.
Doesn't
Um,
sound right for Bison, does it? If you think about it, that doesn't really
but
sound right.
but these were like his soldiers and the killers, if you will. It's kind of like it reminded me like if you ever watched the Marvel movies and you saw Black Widow and all that with all the
Oh yeah, yeah,
quote
she's a
unquote
top
Black
class assassin.
Widows
Yeah.
being controlled, if you will. So yeah, it's like they were all basically assassins for Bison at the end of the day, really. And she just happened to be his favorite or the best ones, you know.
I mean,
So
she's
that's
my favorite of them. So I kind of think Bison has good taste there.
yeah. I mean, she's unique is the best way I'll put it.
Yeah, what's with the
She's
mini tie?
I don't know, like the other versions of the dolls also had that, and
But what's
I'm
with the mini tie?
looking at the list. You have them there too, so we'll get to those characters.
I mean, that's kind of the two things you notice. You notice the win pose where she turns around because, you
But
know,
what's
and then you notice the
interesting
tie.
what's interesting is that you've had all these characters that were facing towards you throughout the stream, and finally we get a new character like this, and she's facing my direction. That's all I gotta say. That's all I gotta say.
She's not really facing your direction. You can clearly tell that her eyes are looking straight forward, not at you.
She's leaning this way. She's leaning
No,
this way.
no. That doesn't count. She's not looking toward you.
Okay, well, I'll give you a character that's looking towards you,
No.
even though he's leaning in my direction.
No, we're not.
This is
way
your
to just
favorite
move on
character.
from Cammy. You know, Cammy is actually one of my mains.
Okay, but not in Alpha.
Alpha 3, yes. I do play Cammy.
Okay, I'll give you that.
I might not play her a lot, but I do play her.
Okay, all right, I'll give you that respect. That's perfectly
okay,
fine.
You can move on to my actual main if you want.
Go ahead, Stretch. Are you gonna give the reach around?
Oh my gosh.
Go ahead.
It's talk about being able to come up with something ingenious and also pat yourself on the back at the same time.
Oh my god.
Why was this guy not in Alpha 1? Like, that was a huge loss for the game. It's probably why I don't like Alpha 1.
Don't spend too much time on this now.
No, legit. Like, why was there no Dalzim or Zangief type character in Alpha 1?
Oh my god. This is his favorite character, so now he's going to get all defensive about it.
Listen. You saw what deism Dalzim is capable of.
Yes, but they didn't develop that till later.
They had classic combos in Alpha 2.
Let's be fair now.
They had custom combos in Alpha 2. However, yes, they were different in the fact that you couldn't turn around or block during them.
Hey, I got nothing against the Yoga Man. I'm just saying, I'm just saying. And I know what he's capable of in the V-isms.
Yeah, and the X-ism.
I know what he can do. I get it.
So, yeah, clearly this is one of my favorite characters. I love the unique play style. And as BloodTide mentioned last stream, he's really one of those characters where you have to completely change your style of play to fight him. You have to throw everything you're used to out the window. Yeah. It is so difficult to think at any moment a character can just slap you from half screen, but he can.
He definitely can.
And I love those types of unique characters where it's a character not many people play, but is odd enough to where nobody will be used to playing against them either.
Well, he is your main, so if there's anything else you want to add on.
He is, and regardless of whether he's top tier or bottom tier, I will pick this character. I don't care. He's so much fun to play as. I love the thinking man's character. He's not the same as the other characters. Like, you're not going to get in at close range and pull off huge combos unless it's like V-ism or whatnot. He's a lot more about trying to outthink your opponent and attack when they're in specific positions.
So you'd say it's more of a chess game.
It really is a chess game with this character because he can control the middle field, he can control the long field, and he's still not that bad close up in some games. Like Alpha 3, he can still fight you close up. He might not be too good at it at Alpha 2, but Alpha 3, he certainly can.
So he's more about the pokes is what you want to say.
Yeah, essentially, and I kind of play him that way in the Marvel vs. games too. I try to control space with the character and only get in close when I'm ready to.
Okay.
It really is a control type character. It's not about what your opponent can do, it's about what you will allow them to do.
Yeah, I get that.
Now, going back to custom combos again, I never really used them in Alpha 2. They were an entirely different beast again, because the custom combo in Alpha 2 is nothing like 3. Like, you're forced into whatever direction you're facing, you can't block during it, and it's constantly moving you forward.
Okay.
So that to me is just that's so bizarre to get used to. And I know a lot of people really love Alpha 2, that being one of the reasons. Because they like how custom combos were done in the game. They feel that they're a lot more fair in that game. But it's just strange to me to have a move where your character can't stop moving forward and can't block.
No, I get that. I feel that.
Now, I assume you don't really have anything to say about this character.
Oh no, I will let you take the spotlight. I feel like we should keep moving forward and we should go to the next character.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. We've been at this a while.
All right, let's go to Gen.
Here is where having BloodTide would be really helpful because this is one of BloodTide's mains, and I don't play this guy at all.
He is definitely one of his mains. There is definitely more to this character where there's some lore. I like to keep everyone aware that he was also in Street Fighter 1.
Yes,
But
he
I
was.
feel like, huh?
I said yes, he was.
But I feel like they developed more of the story in the Alpha series. And there is so many different interpretations. I can give you the very worst, in my opinion. If anyone has ever seen the Chun-Li live action film, he ends up being Chun-Li's master.
Oh no! Like I've seen bits and pieces of that, but I've never watched
Yeah.
the whole thing for
I
obvious reasons.
I don't advise that. No offense to whatever. It's just the interpretation was bad.
You mean
Um,
like the Dragon Ball movie, right?
yeah, they even have Charlie Nash in there, and it's just no, don't just don't go there. I do like where they went with it. Um, yeah, I have to say the Alpha 3 on the Dreamcast was amazing. I definitely agree with that. But as far as Gen goes, he he was like a old master, if you will, and he's definitely on the kung fu side of things. But him fighting off with Akuma was pretty cool, where Akuma didn't want to kill him, and Akuma decided to let him walk because of the sheer fact of Gen was already dying. He had a sickness. I don't remember what it was. Maybe cancer. I'm not 100% sure. But it was something along those lines. And Akuma ended up beating him up, but he didn't want to let him, like, he didn't want to just kill him. He let him live because of the sheer fact of whatever he had going on with himself. Now, I don't remember and I don't recall of whether or not he ended up teaching Chun Li things, but there was definitely references where he did look out for her. They were friends, and in the comics, there was more of that from what I recall. And again, there was a whole movie dedicated to that, where he did actually train her and teach her things in that movie. But again, that is a different interpretation and iteration of Street Fighter. So depending on
Well,
how you look at it and what you're going with.
I can definitely say for 100% certainty, if there's anything she learned from him, I'm glad it wasn't his fashion style.
Well, yeah, considering the outfits that you got to see.
Yes.
All right, time to move on.
I'm sorry. Like I just again, like we didn't find out till the last minute that BloodTide couldn't make it. This is one of his main characters, so I was expecting him to kind of fill in the gaps here. Because
Yeah,
I don't play this character. I don't know this character.
I get it.
So I've got nothing to say.
All right, so let's move on. Let's go to the next character, Rolento. Rolento is a cool character too. I have to say, like the fact that he had those spinning sticks and he was whacking you with those. I thought that was awesome.
That repa of his looks like the most fun thing ever to beat somebody with. Like
Oh yeah,
this the whole character's moveset just looks insanely fun to use. And he's never somebody that I learned, but somebody I always wish I had because he looks fun to play.
Oh yeah, definitely. And then some people had difficulty even beating him in the game.
Well,
When they were playing the CPU.
his AI is a bit random in the sense that it doesn't always do the thing that you're expecting, and therefore it beats you. Which I guess, in a sense, would be good if it were a real player doing, but since it's the AI
Right.
just doing random stuff. But yeah, like whether it's the stick that he's beating you up with, the grenades that he's flinging you out with, like the string that he chokes you, like this character looks so much fun.
Oh, he's pretty cool. I mean, I think he also has some good story to him too. You know, but his ultimate goal is world domination. I just want to point that out. Yeah, he definitely has some Fatal Fury type of vibe. That eventually at one point they may have been like copying one another too.
Yeah, do you know which character he's referring to for reference?
You want to go ahead and point it out? Go ahead.
I don't know which character he's referring to. That's why I was asking you.
There is a character. Well, first of all, there's Kane, who has a long stick, a long cane
You
that he
mean
fights
Billy
with.
Kane?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't think that's who he's talking about.
Well, I thought of that when I saw the stick.
I mean, maybe that's who he's talking about, but I wouldn't say they're similar.
Okay. Yeah, no, that
Okay, so
works.
yeah, he is talking about Billy Kane. I don't know. They don't seem that similar to me. But if I recall correctly, isn't this also like another character from Final Fight? Like I could have sworn he was one of the bosses in one of them, but I can't quite remember which one. And then I'm noticing like more and more. I just like the Final Fight characters because I like Hagar in Marvel 3, even though I don't really play that game. And yeah, yeah, the guy with the bandana, he's got the chain bow staff, I guess you will call it. Um, Rolando doesn't really remind me of that guy per se. Like their appearance is not quite the same, and Rolanto's weapon is not really long, so it's not like a full screen attack. They do both jump a bit, but not. I don't know. I don't know why those two remind you of each other because I wouldn't think
Well,
so.
maybe. Again, everybody's got a different interpretation, but
So
I
he
think we
he is
should.
from Final Fight though, right?
Um,
Because
hmm,
I think he is.
let me let me quickly look. I think you may be right. Yeah, yeah, he is. He is. He
Okay.
was from Final Fight, and the character that yeah, he's definitely yeah. I'm looking at it right now. He's definitely in Final Fight.
Okay.
So yeah, he's definitely a Final Fight character, which is cool.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, probably Final Fight 2, um, which I actually never got to play. But yeah,
but
could
yeah,
be
no,
3 too. See, I only ever played the first Final Fight game because it's the only one I ever owned. But I still feel like I remember him being in one of them.
so he was a member of the Mad Gear hideout, just the Mad Gear gang,
Okay,
if you
now.
will. And he knows Hugo and Poison very well. He was part of that whole gang, but eventually he broke free, and
Okay.
eventually he was no longer part of them.
Thank you for that wonderful Wikipedia read.
There you go. So, anyways,
Red 6 with the super chat.
oh my gosh, really, my man is out there. Haboobkin. Wow.
That is
Okay,
all.
wow, is all I gotta say. He is probably a little delayed in watching the Chun-Li portion or the Cammy portion right now.
Oh my
That's
gosh.
that's probably what's going on. But let's move on with the
Okay.
next characters.
Go for it.
Since he is referencing Haboobkin.
Boobs. Okay. I'm just going to say when I think of Sakura, I don't think of boobs. Sorry, Sakura.
Well, welcome, my brother. Welcome.
I like this character, but I don't think of boobs.
No, I don't think so either. I hate to say it. It's just a different version of Ryu in a sense, but you know what? That's not the case.
That's unfair.
That's not the case. Because there's definitely different variations and different move sets, and she's really cool. My favorite thing, the dance. Just the dance. And yeah, my man's right. She was in the rival school game as well. You know?
Yeah.
And she definitely evolved in the later iterations, like Street Fighter 5, and like the moves evolved even more so. But in Alpha, I felt like she was just fun and fun to use, you know?
See, I didn't really play her much. I know how disgusting she was with custom combos and Vism.
Yes.
I don't know, because she is kind of Shoto-esque. If I was going to play a Shoto, I'd play Ken. So I just didn't really bother with this character that much. And again, it's not from a lack of not liking her. I think that's pretty cool, finally having a female Shoto type character.
I get that too. But I thought she was
just go with Ken.
I thought that she was
yes, she is a Shoto, yes, but you know what I meant.
Oh, she's definitely a Shoto.
I mean, she's definitely more of a Shoto than Guy is.
And you're absolutely correct. Ryu is training her. That is the way it went.
So. I mean, except for like the whole gym fighter thing where Dan was trying to train her, and that didn't exactly go very well because
well, that was a whole spoof and for fun.
I mean, the fact that she could have already beat Dan up anyway. So
yes, I think we end up discovering something like that later on. So let's move forward, though. Let's go ahead and go to the favorite grappler, if you will, who looks like he's scratching his beard.
I'm not going to lie. Geef is just fun to play. There's something about hitting that final atomic buster that is so much fun. Even if you lose the match, if you just get that off, like to yourself, you won.
Well, I feel like they, like especially with regards to like Vism combos, just kind of linking some of that. Walking is just something cool to see. Walking through the screen with that hand, the hand smack that he has. I forgot how that move, what it's actually the move is actually called. I'm just a little tired, but it's really cool. And to see it
flat, is that it?
What is it?
Is it banishing flat?
I forgot what it's really called, but that move, if you do it in a Vism in the Vism, that is awesome. That's all I got to say.
Isn't that like you pop them up and then you do that because that gives you exactly enough time for them to drop, and then you hit them again and then keep doing it?
Oh yeah.
If I recall correctly. Does that actually still work in Alpha 2 where their custom combos are forcing them to walk forward?
I'm not sure about Alpha 2. I know Alpha 3, I saw it for 100%, but Alpha 2, I'm not sure. I think so, though. I think so. I think so.
Yeah,
But
but
yeah,
like poor Geef, like custom combos really didn't do him any favor. They would have if he was the only one to get it, but
true. But
they
I do,
kind of.
like I said, I think he was really cool.
Oh yeah, I love the character, but again, I might be a bit biased because I grew up watching wrestling, so I love wrestling type characters.
Yeah, no, that works. I
And
get that.
again, like every throw is so satisfying, whether it's the atomic buster, whether it's a German suplex, even his lariat. They're all wrestling things, so I have to love them.
Yeah, no, he's really cool, and he does give good damage all around in all kinds of different games too. I
Not to
definitely
mention,
agree.
I always remember the animated version of him doing the final atomic buster to Ryu, uh, because you have that in one of your combo videos.
Yes, yes, we do. There was one animation. There was a later on animation where he does do that, and then Ryu ends up turning into evil Ryu at some point, um, and basically, you know, ends up kind of beating him up or whatever, and then he could have went to the point where he could have killed him, and he's just standing there with like a dumbfounded face. So yeah, it's definitely like that.
Literally, final atomic bustered the Satsui no Heru into Ryu.
He did, he did,
That's pretty strong, if you ask me.
he did. No, he's a strong character. He has a lot of strength to him. He's pretty cool. I
Now,
mean, he's one of the OGs. Let's leave it at that.
unfortunately, tier list wise, he's usually scraping the bottom or pretty close to, which is unfortunate because it seems like Capcom really had trouble figuring out how to make him good.
Yeah, they did.
Now, we certainly have some good Geef players in our community, and I know you mentioned a few last week. Now, the one I'm most familiar with, HDR Champion,
Oh yes, I'm familiar.
amazing Geef player. It's it's a wonder to watch him play, but just considering overall what all the characters can do, Geef is almost always low to bottom tier, and I feel so bad for him.
Oh, totally. I agree.
Okay.
Um, you want to take the next one because the next one's one of your favorites. It's
Yeah,
Balrog.
Balrog. So I know earlier when I said I didn't like Rose, I probably made some people mad there because I know what a fan favorite she is. I'm gonna make some more people mad right now. Balrog is better than Dudley. I don't care what you say.
But you don't want to fight like gentlemen.
I I don't like Dudley. I don't. I Balrog, on the other hand, I love. Like he's just a straight up aggressor. Like
So
he's a berserker basically.
being fair, being honest with regards to Balrog, you know, being a whole copycat of Mike Tyson or whatever you want to call it initially, I like what they did with the character. I like where they took it. I like the fact that uh, they took this character and fully embraced the whole boxer thing.
It with again, except for the biting.
Right.
Like
But I felt like it was cool. I like what they did. And he has unique moves where he can even avoid the fireball, all of that, which is pretty
oh, I
cool.
love the turn punch. Yeah, that
Right.
kind of reminds me of Zangief's lariat in a way.
Exactly. Like it's really cool. Like the lariat can avoid projectiles, and his moves, it's really cool that you can do that. And I feel like it's a necessity for characters like that.
Yeah, the only thing that I didn't like is the requirements for unlocking the character. I
Yeah.
wish he was just selectable right from the start in the base arcade game.
Yeah, I feel like if they did have that, that would be I feel
He's
like
such
I
an
don't know what they
odd
did.
choice for a hidden character too. Why Balrog?
I don't know. I don't know why. I totally
It's
agree with you on that, though.
it's not like he wasn't an established character. He's not a new character,
No.
and he's not like a surprise to the series because everybody knows that Bison hired his three men, Sagat, Vega, and Balrog. So
Yes.
why a hidden character?
I don't know. He's definitely one of the mains, if you will, and they consider him like as one of the like he's the weaker of all of them. But I don't know. I felt like he was cool.
Well, I mean, lore wise, he probably is the weakest of the three. Because, I mean, first off, you got Sagat, who is kind of obviously the strongest of the three. I don't think many people would really say otherwise. And Vega, a lot of people just think, well, Balrog's a powerhouse, but he's dumb. So Vega would easily beat him as well. And that might be the case, but again, we're not talking about lore wise here. At least I'm not. And I mentioned last week, this is one of the characters that made me learn the neutral game, how important spacing and controlling that space really is. Because you have to beat out a lot of stuff with his normals
You
to
definitely
actually
do. You definitely
to be
can
effective.
do that. Yeah, I see that. I feel that.
Like, it's definitely fun to just constantly rush at people with the punch, but his normals are oh so important.
Yeah. I don't know, to be honest with you, what the differences are in Street Fighter Five, but we will definitely get there. Um, that's something that we can research and look up as well. Uh, I know that Ed is more of kind of more on the whole psycho power stuff as well.
And by the way, you never played the Street Fighter 3 intro.
Nope, we can though. I could definitely play
Okay.
that.
Yeah, and while you're doing the intro, for those that don't know, the basis of this particular game, what makes it so special, is the three isms that you have. You have the X-ism, which plays similar to classic Street Fighter, where you don't have air blocks, and you have the one super meter, and you do more damage, but also kind of take more damage. Then you have V-ism, which is your custom combo ism, which basically means that your meter builds up, and once you activate it, you can do customized combos that are different than every character. You can link practically anything in them, but your power is decreased. And then, lastly, you have A-ism, which is your traditional style from Alpha. You have the 3 meters, you have the air block, you do regular damage, you take regular damage. There you go.
I just have to say I like the whole intro. I loved the art. I loved what they did, where it's like you see Ryu and you see Bison hovering over him. The whole overall art style was really cool, and the way they put the whole thing together was just awesome.
Oh yeah,
Like
this is the culmination of the Alpha series for most people that I know of.
it is for me as well. Like I just love that whole. I want to play it again one last time and point out some things, and then I may cut it midway or something. But it's right here where it begins. It's like you have all of these characters, you have all the things showing, and then there's different cool slogans as well, you know. But this scene particularly right now that you're seeing, where it's like you see Ryu and you see Bison, because he's looking for him, you know. I
Yeah,
thought
and
that was awesome.
if you also notice, right before that, it shows off all three isms in this game.
It does, but
Yeah,
it
they
just
compile
really
so much in this short intro. You have to watch it multiple times to catch everything.
it's really put together well. That's all I have to say.
Now, I also feel the need, because we're talking about Balrog, to bring up another new addition to Alpha 3, which is the guard gauge, which is very important for this character.
It is.
Because again, because he is a berserker, you're constantly rushing people down. You're constantly attacking. You want to destroy that guard gauge as fast as you can.
Yeah. That's true. He's saying that that's a Pandora's box. Did the
What?
Tooth Fairy visit
My
Balrog?
Maybe that's why he doesn't have a bite attack. He's missing so many teeth.
That's also why he's so angry, because the Tooth Fairy never visited him.
I'd be angry if I didn't get my few quarters.
Yeah,
Am I
nice.
supposed to, like, how am I supposed to go to the arcade if I don't get any quarters?
That's what it is. Oh, and now for the best part of the show, we're
No,
gonna
the worst
focus
part of the
on
show.
Utility Man's favorite character.
I got nothing to say. I'm done. We can move on.
Oh man, look at what happens when he leans forward. You see, he turns into him.
I hate this character. I hate this character. I hate
and
this
now
character.
and now it looks like you're just giving it to him. It depends on.
Oh, shit.
I'm just having too
Okay,
much
now
fun
what
with
does it look like?
it. Like you are avoiding it. Oh man, this was just priceless. Somebody's got to clip that.
Awful. It's absolutely awful. I've got nothing positive to say about this stupid character.
Well, I have to say, a lot of the elements that he had in Street Fighter 2 carried over into the Alpha series. Like,
You're right. He was annoying in that game, and now he's annoying in this game. I agree.
so he has the reach, he has the extension. He became funnier and cooler in the Alpha series.
No.
Oh yeah.
There's nothing funny nor cool about this character.
What do you mean? Come on, man. He's your favorite character.
No, he's not. This is a terrible character that thankfully wasn't in Alpha 1 and 2 and shouldn't have been in 3. And I'm glad he wasn't playable in the Marvel vs. games. I hate this character.
Oh my god. The reference here is Blanca Chan, aka Charlie. Bro, the whole Charlie thing with Street Fighter the movie, that was just silly. I'll leave it at that. Now, if you want to know the backstory officially is that he was once human, and then he had a plane crash in Brazil where he mutated, resulting into the green coloring and his abilities to generate electricity. That's what ended up happening.
Yeah, I remember that. I'm glad that's not canon.
But that's what they said with regards to it in Alpha. And again, he is not the same person as Charlie or Carlos Blanca or whatnot. Okay, it is a different person. They just had that interpretation in Street Fighter the movie. So I want to be clear with that too. So, right. So like, yeah, we will cover Street Fighter the movie at one point. That will be a stream at one point. So, yeah. I have a feeling you're okay with moving forward.
Yeah, though I thought you'd want me to answer Red before we did.
Oh, you can. The question is, why do you hate him?
Okay,
This should be clipped too.
No, like, this will take way too long for me to answer entirely. So I'll just give you a few reasons why I hate this character. For one, his friggin' awkward jump. I hate that jump. The stupid high arch jump that doesn't fit with anything else. And it's like
you can hear the
because he jumps higher than everybody else. It's like he's always got that little bit of priority unless your character has an upwards attack in the air.
Wow.
I hate the stupid jump. His stupid crouching punch that has way more range than it should have and beats out so much. How safe his dumb rolling attack is. How safe the electrical attack is unless you have a projectile. My gosh, do I hate this character.
If only I could play some music right now, it would be "Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to visit you again."
Oh, I
And then
thought you were,
have his rant going on.
I thought you were gonna play me some mountain music.
That too.
You can move on. I hate this character.
Very well. For the sake of the stream moving forward. Oh, wait.
I'll kill
What
you.
you-
I will kill
It's
you.
too much fun.
My
Okay.
gosh.
Oh, I was having too much fun with it. I'm sorry.
I just have to.
Okay. All right. Let's move forward.
You sure you got it out of your system?
One more time. Okay, go ahead. Another final fight character.
Diaz and Cody is ridiculous.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely ridiculous. Like, avoid the corner at all costs. Like, never let him catch you in the corner. I don't know what you're supposed to do once he does. I have no idea how to get out of that without a teleport.
Yeah.
I mean, I never learned him. Like, I know it's really strange because, again, I learned Guy, I learned Sodom, I never learned Cody. And I like the way he plays, but I don't really choose Vism that much. And I guess you can pick Xism or Aism, but I was never very good with him that way. And every good Cody player I see picks Vism for a good reason, because his Vism is so disgusting.
Yeah. No, I can see that.
Like, he drains your guard meter so fast.
Now, story-wise and lore-wise, he ended up he was the protagonist of Final Fight. He was the one that was the hero.
Even though beforehand you said it was Guy because he reminded you of Ryu.
No, I'm well, as a kid that was my select, my whatever, but I liked him over Cody, for example, because he reminded me of Ryu. But Cody was really the protagonist of Final Fight, and the reason why was because he was actually going to save his girlfriend, Jessica. Now, as to why he's in shackles and became a prisoner or whatnot, is because he became a convicted felon after he got into too many fights following the events of the original Final Fight story. So yeah, he appeared in a blue and white striped prison uniform with handcuffs, alongside with the hand wraps and tennis shoes he wore in Final Fight. That's the official look as per Capcom for the Alpha series. And that's the story behind it, if you will.
Yeah, I always wish they had elaborated on that more, because they took a character that was a hero and then they had a fall from grace outlook for him, but didn't really embellish on it much.
Well, apparently, in his ending, but later iterations, like in Street Fighter 4, from what I recall, he got arrested for being framed because he was surviving, because he was framed by one of the surviving members of Mad Gear.
Was that just like a way of them coming back and trying to redeem him?
So apparently he was shown in Poison's ending, where he was wearing the same jailbird outfit that he wears in StreetFighterAlpha 3. According to what I kind of researched real quick. But yeah, that's what happened.
Okay. I think other than the Vism stuff, the most memorable thing about this character is that they went out of their way to give him a special knife that he could pick up off the ground and use, and I don't ever see anybody use it ever.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't even know how to pick it up off the ground.
Later on, he became mayor and all of that too, but that's not for the Alpha series.
No, it's not.
So moving on, DJ is also a returning character from Street Fighter 2 because he is within Super Turbo.
It's nice to hear that they use it more in Street Fighter 5. But yeah, in Alpha 3, never see anyone use it. DJ, I mean,
Overall,
again,
fun character.
I didn't have anything really to say about him last week because I'm not interested in this character. He just doesn't seem entertaining to me. It's like I get the whole thing, like the Jamaican kickboxing thing, and like that's okay.
Capoeira,
But
if you want to be technical.
okay, yes, but I don't know. Like I was just never really drawn to this character.
Yeah.
And they didn't really do anything new with him in Alpha 3 that would make me want to play him either.
Well, again, he is, like you said, just, a kickboxer for the most part. Apparently, in the whole Alpha series or Alpha 3, his ending is he beats E.Honda, who,
Okay.
as you know, is a Muay Thai kickboxer, right? And E.Honda is vowing revenge afterwards.
So they had to give E.Honda something to do. Gotcha.
But then his big thing and where he tries to move forward is to defeat Sagat. That's his ultimate goal.
Yeah, I don't see that happening.
So, yeah.
I mean, unless we get like evil DJ in Street Fighter 6, I don't see that happening.
I don't think so either. But overall, fun character, cool character. So, let's move on to the next one.
Okay.
And this is for some a fan favorite as well, Honda.
Yeah.
So Honda, you know what? He was good in the Street Fighter 2. He's good in Alpha as well.
He's
Again,
a solid character.
If BloodTide was here, he would be able to elaborate more on Honda. But yeah, he's really cool.
I like Honda's playstyle a lot. Like the 100 hand slap is a fun move. And again, I know I didn't really learn many characters that use the fast button mash, but I did learn Honda. And I still play him in Street Fighter games. Something about the way that he has the charge attacks that are kind of off-putting. Like his headbutt is a little weird for a charge attack if you compare it to other ones. It's not like Balrog. It's not like Blanca's. It's kind of its own thing. And then his anti-air, if you want to call it that, is even stranger in the way its hitbox works.
True.
And I love the cross-up potential with that move. And let's face it, the 100 hand slap is just fun. Like even if somebody blocks it and you take a chunk of their guard meter, it's just fun to throw out.
It is. I agree.
And I love the character's throws too. Like just where he slams you on the ground and then kind of sits on you. That's always fun. Whether he has the backbreaker or he's grabbing you into a submission, that's always fun. I just overall like the fighting style, and it's not something I would think of as sumo. I would think of a sumo more, again, yes, the throws, but a flying headbutt, that's not really a sumo type thing. Maybe the 100 hand slap to an extreme degree, but I would kind of think of like one hard slap as opposed to, flinging out 100 of them at a time.
Yeah, I can see that.
Okay, well, I didn't really have a ton to say about him that I didn't say last week.
No, that's perfectly okay. I'm going to just move forward. I'm not going to say anything about Honda. Okay. I think that was enough. This character, Eagle, he was in Street Fighter 1.
I have zero interest in this character. He gives me Dudley vibes.
Let's fight like gentlemen.
I don't care about him. I just don't. Like the spinning attack that he has is kind of fun, but outside of that, he doesn't have anything that interests me. And I don't honestly understand his place in the story because he's also another character that's not in the mainline arcade version of the game. He was only added later. So I don't really know what story they gave this character because he had none in Street Fighter 1 from what I recall.
Well, the whole reference with regards to Dudley, it's more because Eagle and Dudley are all both from the UK. So,
Yeah.
not to make you sound like you're prejudiced with that, but
No.
you
Now
know,
hold on. Now hold on. Now don't sound like I dislike UK characters. That's not the case.
well, that's
I
what
just
happened with
I'm
Dudley
just
and
not
this guy.
interested in these gentleman type characters.
All right. So, story wise, the man's born in the United Kingdom. He's cold blooded. Okay. And
Oh, so he's a reptile.
you would think so, right? Just give him the green ninja outfit. Um, so he's a bouncer that was employed by a noble family's. So he was basically a bodyguard for a noble family, and it was during the first Street Fighter tournament. And then he was hired to defeat Sagat, but failed, and then he wasn't heard of since. Um, but yeah, that was the whole thing. Now, Eagle was actually commonly dubbed as a homosexual, but none of that was confirmed.
He
For the
is? I've
yeah,
never heard that.
I'm just reading up on some of the stuff on the web. These are things that I'm finding.
I've never heard that.
That's what I read.
Okay.
So yeah, no, he was. But that's what he's basically a bodyguard, and he was hired to defeat Sagat, but failed.
Yeah, he doesn't really sound like he has much of a reason for being an Alpha 3.
Nope, nope. And I think if anything, that's with regards to Alpha One. That's the only thing I really found on him. I mean, I have to dig a little deeper, but for the most part, that's really what it is. He did appear in future things like Capcom versus SNK.
Yeah, where he's low tier.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, he has the whole thing where he's kind of like a different version of Rolento. You got Rolento with two fighting sticks as well.
Yeah, but
So,
Rolento's cool.
hey, Hikade, I'm just saying how it is, my man. Like
Crazy, Blast,
this is
crazy.
what it is. So yeah, apparently,
Well,
according to the concept design, his initial design in the original Street Fighter is homage to the character Petrov, a bodyguard hired by a nobleman portrayed by Robert Baker from the Bruce Lee film Fist of Fury. Not surprised because it's not the first time Capcom looked at fighting, movie like karate movies, whatever you want to call it. You know what I mean?
yeah, speaking of Bruce Lee, we're going to have one of those characters soon.
Yes, soon. But before we do, we will go with Evil Ryu.
Go ahead. Go ahead. I'll give you the floor on this one.
I won't go into too much depth. I like what you were saying with regards to Akuma earlier. Like with Akuma, you had things like the Tatsu into the SRK and all of that.
It's so
Well,
much fun.
with Ryu or Evil Ryu, regular Ryu could never do something like that. Evil Ryu, however, could do things like that. And it was like when I played with Evil Ryu, it was something like a happy medium between Ryu and Akuma. And that's the best interpretation I'm going to give for the character without going too much into it. Story wise, I loved the Alpha 3. Like I discovered, obviously it was Alpha 2 when they first brought it out, but story wise, I love what they did with the character in Alpha 3, where it was like you had Evil Ryu and Akuma going at each other, and it was like two raging demons bouncing off. I thought that
Yeah,
was sick.
that is
And
actually really cool.
that was just like my favorite thing to that. And yeah, it depends. So like in Street Fighter 5, Kage is a different interpretation of Ryu. It's implied that it's Evil Ryu, so they just didn't want to keep using the whole evil Ryu thing.
Yeah, which is why they brought out Violent Ken.
Yes, they had the whole Violent Ken as well. They had that too. So, but yeah, that's my whole thing on it. Let me go ahead and bring up. I'll let you take this one since I took the last one.
What do you want me to say? I had nothing to say about this guy last week either. He's a Bruce Lee ripoff. What am I supposed to say about him? His flaming anti-air kick looks fun, I guess. It's cool that he was one of, if not the first Rekkas. I can't remember. I know he was the first in the series. I don't know. I knew the whole Bruce Lee connection with the character. And that wasn't necessarily a positive or negative for him with me. I just never thought he was fun to use.
Man, I have to disagree. I thought he was cool. I
The
love
flaming kick is cool, but that's it for me.
No, he's got the thing with the fists too.
Yeah,
And not
but
even
the
that, you're
Rekkas-
missing a whole other move that he had.
Yes, the flying scissor kick thing.
Yeah.
See, I don't think that's fun.
Oh man, it was when you would catch people with it. It was cool, bro.
I don't know. It's not like I think he's a bad character or anything. I don't. I don't know. It doesn't have the same feel for me that Balrog has. Yeah, I look at Balrog and think, yeah, there's a Mike Tyson ripoff. But
Okay.
he's
Okay.
fun. But
Well,
here it's like,
he
okay,
has
there's a
two.
Bruce Lee ripoff, but
I get
not
that.
interested.
And my man Hikati says it reminds me of Law from Tekken, and then
Or Dragon from World Heroes,
Heroes.
yes.
Same thing.
He is
It
definitely
was
like Dragon.
Bruce Lee interpretation.
I don't know. I didn't really find him fun to play.
Aside from the scissor kick that he jumps in with, he has a whole different move that's just in alpha.
You'll have to remind me because he's not.
The best way I could describe it to you is like MVC Chun-Li's air kick, where you do the kick and she's just like a flying sidekick through the air.
Wait, he has that in alpha?
He has. Oh my god! Let me go look it up. Hold on.
Okay, that's actually cool. I'll give you that one.
He has that in alpha. Hold on.
That is cool. I will give you that.
So, he has that in alpha.
Much love for Cammy, yes.
Here, there's a whole video on super moves, but there's one particularly.
I'm assuming you're not going to want me to watch this right now.
Oh, I'm gonna share my screen. Hold on.
Oh, okay.
And it's not gonna come out clear because it's the quality of this video. It's at 360p. The person that uploaded it.
Ooh.
So it's gonna be a little choppy. Forgive me for that, folks. But that's just how it looks.
Choppy.
Ain't nothing I can do about that, unfortunately. So here we go.
You might want to take not Bruce Lee off the screen first.
I'm taking him off of the screen. So here we go. So
okay.
Look, this is actually what I'm talking about. This move right here. So
like the flying Bruce Lee kick. Okay. I will give you credit.
That's what I was talking about.
Okay, that is cool. I give you that.
That's different. That's what I was referring to with regards to it.
Okay, see, like I said, I don't really know his alpha counterpart much because, again, he's not in the base arcade version.
Well, that move is there, and that move is pretty cool, and I want to see if he actually does it where he kills him. Yeah, it's the same. It's really the same thing, but it really is like just reminds me more of Bruce Lee.
Well, yeah, I think a lot of people know that pose.
Right. That's all I have to say about that.
Okay.
So, hey, it is what it is. But yeah, that's really it with that. You want to move on to the next one?
Yeah, we can. Okay, you have made me change my mind a bit about Fei Long. I'm probably not going to go out and play him, but he's a cooler character than I thought.
With I'm telling you that one move to catch them in that was also pretty cool. It was not easy
Guile.
to do.
Guile, though, is the not Charlie, but also Guile that's not Charlie. Yes.
He
Confused
looks
yet?
so sad. He just looks so sad.
Well, yeah. Charlie was killed, of course. Well, I mean, spoilers.
Yeah, definitely. I get that. I feel that. I understand. But
I I played Guile a lot, and I still do. But if you give me the choice between the two, I'm gonna pick Charlie. I don't know. It's just a
for
question of
Alpha.
style, really. I feel like Charlie has more style than Guile. Not that I mean that to rhyme. Although I will say Guile has the better theme song. Can't really argue that. Like as far as Street Fighter music goes, that's definitely top tier.
Well, that was his thing. I mean, come on. That was like, come on. We all know that.
Now, this is another character where normals are oh so important. Yes, obviously, being defensive is important, but knowing what normals beat out what just make you such a better player with this character.
Oh, I know. I agree.
And again, I'm pretty sure I went in a little more detail last week. I don't think they really changed much for him in Alpha, honestly. I think he's still pretty similar.
Yeah.
Now, granted, he's not as dominant as he was in World Warrior, mind you, where he could run through the cast, but still a very solid character. A nice mix of offensive to defensive gameplay, a lot of safe stuff too. Yeah, I again, he wasn't in the arcade version of Alpha, which always kind of sucked for me because I wanted to try him out, but I haven't gotten to play him, only watch what he does.
I see that.
And I'm trying to think, like, I think he got one extra super, but everything else is about the same, if I recall.
He has two supers in
Yeah.
Alpha. He has the one where he's doing this. He's doing his flash kicks,
Yeah, and then the Sonic Hurricane.
and then he has a Sonic Hurricane where it's like a sonic boom surrounding him.
Yeah, that's
So-
the new one, I believe.
Right, and that he got in Alpha 3.
Yeah, it's a really cool attack, but again, I can't speak from experience of playing this character in Alpha because I just didn't have the version that had him.
Oh yeah.
But as far as I recall, he's pretty similar outside of that.
Well, you know, for the most part, him and Charlie have a lot of the same move sets, but it's like Ryu and Ken in a lot of senses, and that's what I feel like they tried to do that with them. But Charlie has a few moves that are completely different.
Yeah, I mean, they're not entirely the same. They're not like, World Warrior Ryu and Ken.
Right.
And even some of their normals are different. Like Guile has that overhead kick. He's got a double sweep, which Charlie doesn't have. He has his little, I guess, dashing or hopping knee is different than Charlie's. It's enough to make it to where it's worth learning both characters.
Yeah. Well, they're definitely different.
I mean, if you want to get like real technical, yeah, their sonic booms are not entirely the same. Their flash kicks aren't entirely the same. Like, if you really want to get specific, yes, there's a lot of differences there. It's just the overarching play style is similar.
I agree. But still, you can see the differences between the two.
Yeah, for sure.
So let's move on. Let's move to a character that's really not too many people know about, not too many really people play with. She's kind of, I would say for the most part, like, how do I put this? Unique in her own way. Now, she has a good story to her.
I don't
You
get
look
this
like you,
character.
you look like you want to say something.
I don't understand this character. Now, from my research of this character, apparently Psycho Power is supposed to be hers and Bison is
Yes.
stealing it.
Yes, that's what I read too.
Now, I know that's supposed to be the case, but is this character actually canon? That's what I don't know.
I don't think so. So here's the thing: Yoshirina Ono created the character, but he had that thought process of having this character be the source of Psycho Power. And that is where she comes in saying to Bison, "Oh, you're stealing my Psycho Power. I'm going to take it back," and all of this other stuff. And that was her story in the Alpha 3 genre. Now, I can't speak on the whole Capcom Fighting Evolution and what her story was like there, but that's to my understanding.
Now, I've also heard some rumors that she's a possible time traveler. I don't know if there's any truth to that at all.
I don't know. I don't know about that either.
Like, she seems, or at least fan interpretation, knows what future events are going to be like. But again, with her not being a canon character as far as we know, I don't know what's really true about this character and what isn't. And if you look up her actual story, there's not much there to go on.
Oh yeah. No, I found that funny too. With like, that's supposed to be Bison's master or whoever, is stronger. Like that's just
Now, go ahead.
No. I found that pretty silly. That's all.
Now her play style looks pretty funny, honestly. I assume you haven't played the version of Street Fighter Alpha with her in it.
A long ago. Long ago.
Okay. Yeah, her little ballerina kicks and her throws that a character like this should not have. Like, one of her throws is just her grabbing you and punching you in the face. And that doesn't make sense for this character.
I feel that.
She has a counter attack where she actually flings you above the screen.
Yeah. No, I hear that, man. I don't know.
She's such a bizarre character. I would want to learn her just for that.
I mean, go for it. What do you want me to say?
Yeah, and she's got some type of sunburst attack, which is the projectile that explodes. That looks cool. Again, all the little dancing kicks, just it looks funny to watch her play. It's just my opinion. She doesn't look like she belongs in Alpha. Not at all. But because of that, she looks fun.
I feel that.
So, yeah, that's really the most I can say regarding her because, again, as we've addressed, she doesn't have much story.
Okay.
All right.
Well, enough said. Let's move on. Let's go to the next one. This is
Let's
one
move
of
on to not hot Cammy. Thank you.
one of the dolls. Okay,
Not
that's how
hot Cammy. Thank you.
this is Julie. Okay, Julie is one of the, like I was talking about earlier. If you were listening to the podcast from earlier or the show, we talked about Cammy, and I said Cammy is just one of the dolls, and that was what Bison referred to as his female assassins as dolls. So I don't know much about her story other than she did kind of break free, if you will, um, out of the mind control, and that was also like thanks to Cammy and all of that. And the same thing can be said about Junie. So it's
Not hot
Junie and
Cammy
Julie.
number 2.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So they're both, and if you play as them, there are some slight distinct differences. They don't play like Cammy. Like Junie, if I recall correctly, has the ability to like shift between, like kind of teleport, if you will, is like an
Yeah,
ability,
kind
I
of.
would say. So it's like they have unique differences between them. But again, the whole story wise, they're just kind of like soldiers in Bison's army who later do get freed. And that's the whole part of the whole uniform thing that we talked about with the tie. That's just the whole Bison's, their whole
Yeah,
outfits, if you will.
the small tie just looks weird to me. It always stuck out to me.
I mean, look at that. They're pretty much design wise, other than one has bigger boobs and Haboob King, you know, story like outfit wise, it's pretty much the same.
Yeah, that's really all the tie is for, I guess, to draw your attention to that. Which one of them hides the tie better?
Clearly.
Sorry, Junie.
Anyway,
But like they literally just feel like they're there to be there. They're not quite nameless soldiers, but
well,
they're barely a step up.
I feel like it was. Added that way to increase the story for Cammy, like she freed them, and it was more for Cammy's story. I feel like, you know, than anything else.
I
And Bison too,
suppose.
like he had his own soldiers or whatever you want to call it.
But what's the deal with them being secret characters along with Balrog? Like, Balrog is a character that shouldn't be a secret character because he should be a core character. And
Again,
they're secret characters that shouldn't be secret characters because who cares about them?
again, I feel like it's just because, not because of anything else.
I guess so.
You know,
Well, there's a 2-for-1 deal for you.
I feel you. I feel you. You want to go to the next one?
Go for it.
So while Ryu had Sakura kind of idolizing him, Karen was led to believe as Ken's protege, if you will.
Basically, yes, in a sense. She's the Ken to Sakura, basically.
Right.
Is a huge fan favorite character. Even I have to say, I don't play this character, but I really like this character. It's hard not to.
She does not play like a Shoto, though, and she is not a Shoto.
No, she's not.
She's got unique movesets, and she's pretty cool with her moveset as well.
And she also has that rich girl laugh trope that a lot of people, including myself, love. You just don't get tired of it. If you like it, you always like it.
I don't know. I was never a fan. I prefer Sakura's dance pose. That was awesome.
I'm not saying I like one better than the other, but I do like both characters.
I get that too.
Not to mention, like, her anti-air is so unique. She's like spinning and slapping you at the same time.
Right, and then when she wins, it's like what my man's asking for. Oh,
My gosh.
yeah. So it's cool though. I mean, I get that, you know.
She has some of the most memorable intro and win pose type things, just like the butler coming out and her throwing the dish and stuff. This character
It's.
is all about style and personality, and she's overflowing with both.
I was just gonna say, definitely unique.
Love the character. Sad I never really learned how to play her that well, but love the character.
But definitely unique. I would say that.
Yeah, it's just kind of a shame that her main point to be there is just being a rival to Sakura. I wish they had given her more than that, but her story's not too deep from what I recall.
Oh yeah. But the moveset and everything's unique. I thought the character's design, just like everything you brought up, I would say is perfect and on point.
Okay.
So another character, Maki, she did appear in like Capcom versus SNK and all that as well. Now,
She did, where unfortunately, again, she was low tier.
right.
Okay, right off the bat, her weapons, Tonfa, love them. Always loved that weapon. Every action movie I've seen that weapon in, I love that weapon. She's a Final Fight character, so you'd think I would play her, but I never had the version of Alpha with her in it, or I would definitely play her.
Right. And she's part of the same Mushin clan that Guy is in.
Yeah, and her moves are very similar to Guy's in that sense. She also has a move where she starts running first. And what I love about hers is her run into a sweep into a grapple. Looks like so much fun to do.
Yeah. Well, she was also like she was actually in the Final Fight 2, not in the OG Final Fight, just
Yeah,
to
Final
clarify.
Fight.
But she was in Final Fight 2. And, you know, other than saying that she's just a ninja and in the same clan, you know, she is also the sister of to the fiance of Rena within the family
Okay.
bloodline. If anybody's that played Final Fight or was into it, but that's the case of what was going on.
Yeah, I'm not surprised that she reminds you of Ibuki. Like,
In many ways, yeah, she did
she
actually.
does kind of yeah, she does kind of make you
It
think.
has a vibe, yeah.
Yeah, her play style's not the same, but yes, there's definitely a vibe there. And again, she's one character I really wish had been in the regular arcade Alpha 3. I understand why she's not, because she doesn't really have much of a reason for being in the game. She was a late addition, just thrown in there as an extra character. But I would have liked to have learned this character.
So apparently she's Guy in story lore. She's Guy's childhood friend, but she's also jealous of him. The fact that he actually became like the 39th master of Bushin Ryu, and she
Yeah,
thought
she
that she
wants to be.
deserved it. You're right.
Yeah, they're rivals, and that's kind of their story in Alpha 3, where she's hunting down Guy to prove that she should be the leader of it.
And apparently she ends up rescuing Reno from the whole Mad Gear gang, from what I understood.
Yeah, never got to play Final Fight 2, like I mentioned, but definitely an interesting character with a weapon I love that I'd like to learn.
Yeah. Apparently in the Alpha series, she crosses with Sakura, and when she crosses with
That's
Sakura,
right. She does.
basically what happens is that Sakura just tells her like she needs a little bit more experience and as a fighter and all of that, but or rather, Maki says that to Sakura. I apologize. I had that a little.
Yeah, you might want to get that right
I wanted to clarify.
because,
And this was when Sakura was just starting out as a Street Fighter.
well, Maki has a lot more confidence than Sakura does.
She's also cocky
Yes.
and overly confident, based off of what I read. Um, so yeah, that's Maki for you.
I never saw the Pixels movie. I'm sorry to tell you that. Like, there in the comments, I've never seen that movie.
Now, I want to move on to the next character, who's also a fan favorite for some. I know BloodTide likes to use her too. Shout out to BloodTide. I hope he feels better. So Mika, or our Mika, is a wrestler, and she is also like she looks up to Zangief for the most part. But she's also a pretty cool character, aside from the design, which is very unique. Um, I don't know. Like, what is your take on her, Utility Man?
This is the character in Alpha 3 I most regret not learning.
Really? Why so?
Because, again, I grew up on wrestling.
Okay.
What's not to like about this character? She's
that's
a
true too.
female grappler, attractive one, mind you. She has a butt attack, or she throws her butt at you. What's not to like about that? Like, that's one of the most known things about this character. We all know about the changes to that Super and later Street Fighter games, but no, literally, like, sandwiching the character between her butt and another girl's butt.
Well, that goes along with her attire. So, like, her attire is meant to be flamboyant,
Well,
and so it's so that
she's a
she
wrestler.
right. I mean,
I think most people, when you think of wrestlers, you think of people that aren't really wearing that much clothing. So it kind of goes hand in hand.
well, like I said, she's definitely out there.
I'm so disappointed I never got good with this character because she looks like so much fun.
She is, and I'm sure if BloodTide was here, he could elaborate on that.
I really need a grappler type character in Alpha 3. I'm going to say this right now. Next time I play Alpha 3, I'm learning this character.
Yeah. Okay.
Mine's made up. I want to know how to play this character. Not to mention in later games, she's got the microphone too, which you can see I'm holding. I love this character.
So earlier I actually said that she was she looked up to Zangief and all that. She did, but for the most part it was just as a child, she was just into the whole wrestling thing. And then she was training. And then she met Geef later on in something called Star of the Ring, if you will. And then, she referenced him as the great Zangief. But it was in a way to cooperate in some of the missions so that they could destroy, like, the Psycho Drive in the Alpha series, for example.
Yeah, I think I do remember her being part of his ending.
Right. That's really what it was. But she does cross paths with Karen, who we just were talking about earlier.
That part I don't remember.
Right. And well, Karen basically said to Mika that she would sponsor her in some of the first class wrestling stuff.
That makes sense.
But then 6 months later, she ends up destroying the Psycho Drive, and that was the whole story with Zangief, where they met each other and whatnot. And they together actually do the Atomic Buster, apparently.
That just proves you can solve any problem by suplexing it.
There you go. But yeah, she's a cool grappler at the end of the day. Let's leave it at that.
Okay.
Oh my goodness. I know how you're gonna feel about this guy.
I've got nothing personal against this guy. I never said I didn't like him. He's just bottom tier in
There you go.
Super Turbo.
There he goes with the bottom tier stuff again.
We proved it. Last week you looked up the tier list, and what did it say? He was the bottom character.
I'm not gonna about to do that for Alpha, but that's what happened before.
I don't know his tier placement in Alpha, so I can't say. I actually do not know if he's a good character in this game or not. I have no clue. And I got nothing wrong with his moveset. Like the little grab where he spins you 360 degrees and slams you is cool. Like
it's low on the tier list, according to Event Hubs at least.
Yeah, like his diving hot thing, it's cool. Like his moveset looks cool, but my only argument is that he was bottom tier, not that he's a bad character.
Out of all the 33 characters, excuse me, I'm actually in need of some water. But out of all the 33 characters, he is number 30 on the list. And you'd be surprised to know Armika is number 33.
That is a shame. But, I play Dalzim when he's bottom tier. I'll learn Armika whether she's bottom tier or not.
There you go. Inspiration.
Well, because tiers don't determine if a character's fun for me.
Even though you're crying them out?
What? No.
Even though when you cry?
No, like, as far as
I know what you meant with tier. I'm being silly. That's all.
As far as T-Hawk goes, I got nothing against the character. I think he's a cool character. I just didn't think he was a good character.
Well,
and apparently he's not much better in Alpha.
He's a good grappler as well. I mean, come on. I don't know about Alpha.
Okay, but when you say good grappler, like think of the connotations of that. How often are the hardcore grappler characters high on the tier list? They're more often pretty close to the bottom.
For the most part. Although you'd be shocked to know Zangief, for example, is considered mid-tier.
I don't know. With how I've seen HDR Champ play him, I wouldn't be surprised.
Well, Geef is number 12 on the list, whereas T-Hawk is number 30.
Okay, I didn't expect him to be that high.
Yeah, I didn't either. I'm just looking at the list right now.
Okay.
So, yeah. And this is based off of votes. This is based off of people's opinions. So, yeah. Interesting take.
Definitely.
Let's move on. Let's go to the number one on the list of the tier list.
Yeah, another reason I wish BloodTide was here, because all the time BloodTide's talking bad about Dalzim. Dalzim's god tier in this game. He's god tier. No. Dalzim is very good. Dalzim is probably top 5, I believe. But you want to know the real cheese? Right here.
He's really good in this game too. Like I can see why he was number
really
1
good in this game.
I can see that, and I understand why he would be number 1 on the tier list.
Me too.
He's really cool in this one. I mean, he has the climb thing only on his stage. Unfortunately.
Yeah, don't they usually ban his stage for that reason?
They do, but still, it's pretty cool. That's all I have to say.
I can't play this character at all. I've tried. I don't know what I'm doing wrong, because when I see people play Vega, like they just do that cross-up thing, and it's like a 50-50. And
yeah, you don't know what to expect.
Well, see, like either I get hit or I block it, and then they can just back off quickly and do it again. And I know I'm missing something there. But
God, Godly shares his views with you. He said he hates Vega.
I don't hate the character. I hate fighting the character. He's so annoying to fight in this game. And he's so annoying to fight in Super Turbo. And he's so annoying to fight in Capcom vs. SNK2. Like, why is this character consistently high tier?
Yeah.
Like, I know it's not always the case, but so
Well,
often he's
well,
high
like
tier.
my man said, he's fast. He's very quick.
Yeah, but like, just because a character is quick doesn't mean they're great. Like, yes, it does tend to skew that way because you look at the other really quick characters, like Sakura with her custom combos is pretty deadly. Karen can be pretty deadly, but it's not always the case that because a character is fast, they're good. But this is a character that is fast, has that weird jump, kind of like Blanca. He has a lot of range. He's got really good cross ups. He's got a lot of safe attacks. Like they
He
just gave
does.
this character way too much.
He does.
They really gave him way too many options and not enough drawbacks.
Well, my man's giving some tips. He says you have to be patient with Vega, even though he's on top of your toes.
Yeah, just like Godly says. He flies all over the screen, hitting and mixing you for free. He really does. It feels like
It's the
there's
mixing.
no, like, to be honest, he should be in stun longer after doing that mix up. Like, if you block that, you should be able to punish him for that.
I can see that.
Like, I'm pretty sure if you activate Vism at the right time, you can, but you shouldn't have to do that.
True. And I could see that happening. I understand that.
So, lore-wise, he's one of Bison's goons. Like, this guy that's obsessed with his own beauty, so he wears a mask so his face is never harmed.
Yeah.
I got nothing against him. He's just really annoying to fight.
I think he's pretty badass. But he does have that as a weakness, too. So, that's all I have to say.
Well, yeah, isn't he... I know you can knock the claw off of him and he loses some range. You can also knock his mask off and his defense lowers, right?
You can.
Okay, I thought that was the case. Hey, Kong, welcome. We're actually almost done.
Yes, almost.
Well, I got nothing else to say about Vega.
Yeah, I have to say, like, some people in the Alpha tournament, like, we ran an Alpha 3 tournament, and some people played with him, from what I remember. So, yeah.
It's, I don't know, like, on one hand, yeah, it's satisfying to beat Vega, but on another hand, you have to think about everything you just went through, and it's like, they're just going to pick him again next match. Do you really want to go through that again? Do you really?
Well, that depends.
Okay.
Well, let's move on. Let's go to the next character.
And our final character,
and our final character on the list, actually. You're right. So he is one of the final characters on he is the final character on our list, but I don't, it's funny. I don't recall him in the original Alpha like that.
He's not in the original Alpha 3.
He came in what was it, Alpha 3 Max?
Oh, gosh. I was just looking at that today.
You remember?
Sadly, I don't. I had that page up right before we started.
Well, I'm looking it up. So apparently he was on the PSP version of StreetFighterAlpha 3.
Yeah, that's Max. Okay.
Right. So that would be Max. So he was in the Max version of it. And for those of you that don't know who he is, he's really more of a Street Fighter 3 character, which we'll cover in the future. Um,
You mean fight for the future? Ha ha ha.
ha 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 ha! Fight for the future. Well,
So
yeah, he's the next character on the list for
legit,
Street Fighter 3 when we do Street Fighter 3.
why is he in this game?
I don't know. Good
Is he
point.
literally just in this game to draw a connection to Street Fighter 3? Because he wasn't in Street Fighter 1. He's not in any of the versions of Street Fighter 2. He wasn't in any previous Alpha games. I feel like it doesn't make sense for this character to be in the game.
It's a very good point.
And again, that's not taking anything away from Yun. I think he's a fun character, but I don't get why he's in here unless it's just a cross promotion with Street Fighter 3.
Well, I mean, his original inception and creation actually goes far as back as Super Street Fighter 2, where they thought about the Lee brothers then, as that they were
That's
creating
true.
Cammy and T-Hawk.
Yeah, I do remember that actually, now that you mention it.
But I am trying to figure out the whole thing with regards to Alpha. So he's in it, but it's a non-canon type of appearance.
Okay, I figured it had to be. If I recall correctly, him and Yun are searching for Fei Long.
Yep,
Because
that's
they heard Fei Long
Yep.
had gotten into some drug dealing stuff, and they were going to check it out. It seemed like it was really shoehorned into the game, and now that I hear it's non-canon, that makes sense.
that's what it is. And yeah, it was that he was going after Fei Long. He was looking for him, and it was more because of the whole fame, and he just wanted to also try and become like he just wanted to meet him.
He's a fun character to play for sure, though. I think a lot of people know just how good he is in Street Fighter 3 Third Strike. I don't know where he is on the tier list of Alpha 3 since I've never played the PSP version, but I do know that his move list is pretty similar.
They are. So story-wise, they team up with Fei Long to take down Shadow, and they fight together to beat Bison. That's what the whole story was.
Yeah, which again, it's a non-canon thing, so I'm just going to go back to my original assumption that he was just put in this game as a Street Fighter 3 connection, because to me, it's a weak story reason that's not canon anyway.
Yeah.
So I don't want to go into too much detail with the character because we will definitely go over him next week when we talk about Street Fighter 3. So, I mean, for that reason, that's kind of why it's both fortunate and unfortunate he's our last character because we can't really say much about him because lore-wise he's not here, and gameplay-wise we cover him next week.
I can talk about, I guess, the iteration from the Udon comics that, coming from what we were talking about earlier with Gen, Gen was teaching Chun-Li things. He also did train Yang, and that was something that they did too. Like Yang ended up working in the restaurant or whatnot that Gen had, and at the same time, he would teach him things. That's why he has that whole persona, if you will, of the Kung Fu master type thing.
Okay.
So just to kind of clarify, but again, that's Udon comics interpretation.
I mean, that's better than what they gave us in Alpha 3 for him.
Oh yeah, that he's just going after Fei Long, and they take down Shadowloo together, and that's that.
That's that.
You're absolutely correct.
Okay, well, since there's probably no reason to continue going through Yun stuff until next week, I'd like to draw your attention to the very last thing that I uploaded.
Which was.
There's a set of 4 images at the top, and I
see
don't
them.
know if you know what they are or not.
You want to go over the isms for Street Fighter Alpha 3?
Not quite.
Okay.
Now, what these are, for anyone that has the Street Fighter Alpha anthology on
that was great.
PlayStation 2, you can unlock a version of Street Fighter Alpha called Hyper Street Fighter Alpha. And it has a bunch of extra features, including 4 new isms.
All right, I'll highlight the very first one.
And I thought it would be interesting for us to briefly glance over the new isms and discuss how that might change things.
It doesn't sound right. An ism. Like, it's like a condition or something.
Now, I have ordered them in order of which one I felt was least to most interesting.
Okay.
So the first ism, S-ism, or whatever, it's like a red S-ism. Now you can see it adds some stuff from the Marvel Versus series. It gives Guy a teleport, which is pretty cool. It gives the Shotos their big fireballs. I'm not quite sure why this was its own thing.
Yeah.
Not to mention, Dalzium gets an air fireball. Like, again, Marvel. It's kind of like Yun in a sense. They were just shoehorning some Versus series stuff in this game to give some variety.
You're absolutely right.
So I didn't find this one terribly interesting, but I wanted to mention it just for consistency's sake. There's anything you want to add regarding it?
I just think it's cool. Do you want to? You want me to pull up the second image?
Go for the second one.
Okay. This one just goes across.
Yeah, it kind of does. Pink S-ism. Now, this one started to pique my interest because it gave the original Street Fighter 2 cast their Championship Edition versions.
Okay.
Now, most people know how good a lot of these characters are in Championship Edition. Imagine being able to use them in Alpha 3.
That would be interesting.
In fact, this ism is so good it is banned at tourneys.
Not surprised.
It actually gives characters infinites.
Yeah, I would imagine so.
Cool take, but unfortunately ruined for that reason.
I'll pull up image 3.
Okay, now we're going to get to some interesting stuff.
Okay.
Green S-ism.
No. That sounds like a Blanca thing going on now.
Oh my gosh. So, how would you like to be able to do air combos and push block in Street Fighter Alpha?
Jeez. The Magic series? Really? I just read that. Wow.
Yes.
That's cool.
Imagine that in Alpha. Like, for me, example, Guy is already a fun character to combo with. I can't even imagine what it would be like to air combo with the character.
That'd be sick.
I can tell you're tired.
I am a little bit. We've been streaming for almost 4 hours.
I know. I wish we had some more time, but I understand you wanting to kind of hurry through this a bit.
Well, I have work in the morning. That's all.
Okay, we can go to the final one and the one I found the most interesting.
Okay, go for it.
How about some super canceling and parrying?
Ooh, that's cool.
I watched a video before this stream where somebody completely parried the Shen and Bison Psycho Crusher.
That's insane. I want to see that, actually.
Like, you want me to find it real quick?
Yeah, you could pull it up if you want to pull it up on stream. I think that would be cool to see.
Yeah, like people already know what parrying did for the Street Fighter 3 games.
Yep.
Uh, in Alpha, it sounds completely broken, which apparently this is a fair one to use, unlike the Pink-assism.
Wow.
Okay, here. I will link this to you.
Oh, okay. You want me to pull it up?
Oh, I just figured that'd be easier for you.
All right, hold on.
Like, if anything, I think this is a cool thing to go out on.
We can. It's not going to have any sound,
That's fine.
but we could definitely do that. Let me share my screen.
Okay. Now, for reference for anyone, I actually own the Street Fighter Alpha anthology, but I got no one to really play it with, and I'd love to go through some of this with some people.
Oh man, dude, I have Anthology actually too.
It would be
So,
so much fun to be able to play this with people.
all right, well, let's go ahead and play this. I don't know
All
if
right.
I don't think the volume will go through, but let me. This way I can hear it. Ready?
Go ahead.
Oh, there he goes. There he goes. Look at that. Look at the parries. Wow, that's cool.
So awesome to parry the whole thing and then punish someone.
Here goes the air comp. Yep. Damn.
Like, that completely changes
Into the demon too, bro. Look at the parries. Look at the parries. Nice.
Like, that makes it feel like a brand new game to me.
He even jumped. That's funny. That's cool. There he goes. Nice.
I can't even imagine parrying that Repa.
That's pretty cool. Wow.
So, yeah, if we ever get the chance, I would love to play this with you. I don't know of any way we could possibly emulate this and play online, maybe.
We would have to see if there's a version of it, maybe. But that would be cool.
Yeah, we could pretty much do a stream of this.
I could see that happening. That is pretty cool, though.
Yes, indeed.
There he goes.
Hey, that'll make T-Hawk viable, a parry.
I like the side screen, the variations.
It's very cool, yeah.
All
right.
right. Yeah, that was pretty cool, man.
Okay. I thought that would add something interesting to end off with.
Yeah, no, I have some footage of combo videos and stuff. I mean, we did a whole thing with Ken
Yeah.
for a tribute.
Yeah, you played some of that last week, I believe.
We did, but one thing, I guess I'll share my screen. Let me pull that up. I would just point out. Yeah, so this is a whole series. Let me go ahead and this is because these are like some of the last projects that I worked on with CS Vagrant before. Let me go ahead and pull that up. I don't want to play the whole thing. It references a lot with regards to like the old Street Fighter games. If If we want to play it, we can. But I just want to. I'll fast forward it to like where the alpha stuff is. Right after this is where alpha comes in.
Oh, I remember
So-
saying that should link.
So this is Alpha 1. Here comes Alpha 2. And shout out to CS Vagrant, because we did this, CS Vagrant and I. And what you're seeing is a lot of the combos CS Vagrant put together. Right, this one was his.
That links? Wow.
Yes. Off of, yes. So this is pretty cool right here. This is Alpha 3.
Poor Amica.
So it's not something you see every day. Some
No.
pretty cool combos. Some of our stuff. So we want to finish it. We finish it with our own things. And yes, there was more to it. This was different parts of the series. We have some unreleased footage of this too, but I'm not going to get into that now. We did things for like all the modern Street Fighter games as well. So that just never got released. Maybe it will one day. I don't know.
Hopefully.
I have to sit down and really piece it together. But I did have fun going down memory lane.
Yeah. There's a lot more to cover than I remembered. I know
Certainly.
last week we said hopefully the next week would be not as long. I'm going to say that again. Hopefully the next week will be not as long.
Well, I feel like we'd really mainly be covering more of. We're going to be doing Street Fighter 3, right?
Yeah.
I feel like with Street Fighter 3, you're focusing on majority of the characters are on third strike. The roster is certainly less. We just went through 3 games, and we went through a whole roster per each one. And the rosters, this was pretty big.
Well, I mean, we went through Street Fighter Alpha 1, and then we went through 2. We only covered the unique ones. And then we went through 3, and we only covered the unique ones. So
Right, but you have to, again, think certain characters like Ryu, for example, he was in all of them.
he was, but we only covered him once. I know you keep wanting to go back to Ryu because you love Ryu, but we only covered him once.
It's okay. We can cover him one more time.
Yeah, let's cover how Ken keeps beating him.
Ryu
that's
is
what I
just
want. Like,
the best one. Period.
yeah, Ken beat him in Alpha, and then Ken won Street Fighter 2. For all we know,
Hey,
Ken won
my
Street
man Legs
Fighter
is
3.
out there. Yo, Legs. Next week we'll bring out Sean. He'll be there.
Next week is all about Street Fighter 3, so that'll
That's
be
right.
his prime.
That's right. Next week will be all about Street Fighter 3. So
We can address how great he is in 2 and not so good in Third Strike.
Oh yeah. Well, no, he was
No.
good.
He was amazing in Street Fighter 3 Second Impact. He's terrible in Third Strike.
Leave him alone.
I'm just being honest. I like the character.
We don't need
but
to get a preview of what's
They
happening next week.
nerfed him
That's a
so
whole
hard in Third Strike. They
Save it for
nerfed
next
him
week.
so bad.
Save it for next week.
Okay.
I'll tell you what. Why don't we go out with? Did we? Yeah, we did play all the intros. Let's play the Alpha 3 intro as our outro. So thanks everyone for tuning in. Wish everyone a good night, and we'll see you guys on the next one.
See you later, everyone.